Fore play, sorry, Barstool Sports. We are back. It is June 24th, 2021. I had to do that. We're 2 days in advance. What is Lurch's fist? What are you doing?
That's my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Oh. Can
It's
we
my
put in
birthday.
some like pew noises, like party poppers?
Some balloons or
Just
something
some
like
audio
that. Yeah.
party poppers.
Is birthday? Do we look at birthday as like, way to go? You've just kind of like survived more. Like, What is the point? What is the whole point of the thing?
Nothing. I think honestly nothing other than like I think people are pretty bored in general, so now they're just gonna say like happy birthday. Like the amount of people just going around the other day saying like Happy Father's Day to like some random guy almost gave me a chuckle at the end of it.
Well,
Or it's like
I
Happy
can
Father's
understand
Day.
Happy Father's Day because it's like a day for us all to really sit back and reflect about how important fathers are and thank them for all their sacrifice and work to get. Like your birthday, it's just like, it's just a random day where you happen to be born. You didn't do it. You actually didn't even do anything. You just like the doctor. You should go. We should celebrate the doctor that delivered you on your birthday more than anyone's birthday. Nobody did anything. You just came out of a fucking your mother. It's not.
Yeah,
that,
it's almost
it's like.
that's Mother's Day. That everybody's got an individual Mother's Day, and that's just your birthday.
Yeah, kind of.
You know, it's like no, that's my Mother's Day. My Mother's Day is June 24th because she went through hell and back.
Especially with that big head.
It's so bad.
I know. It was out of range.
I enjoy birthdays for sure. I'm a big birthday guy. I got one coming up on August 13th. Actually, this year mine's getting spoiled a little bit. My girlfriend's sister's getting married on the 14th. Her rehearsal dinner's on the 13th. So hoping I can maybe not steal the show, but a cake to be presented at their
Well,
rehearsal dinner would be nice.
Guy. Anybody who thinks that, then they're just crazy selfish.
Listen, it's a day of celebration, man. Like, I think what Rick said, he said it quickly, but I think you were correct. It's like, congratulations on surviving. Yeah. This life, man, this life is fragile. I almost died the other day in Long Beach. One more step and I was gone. So, like, this upcoming birthday, we should all just kind of sit back and be like, man, you made it another year. Odds are, the years that go on, it's harder and harder to make it.
Correct. So I think that is the best justification someone could present to me of why birthdays are a thing. It's like, dude, or way to go. Like, good, a whole nother year. You did it. You're still here. You're still breathing. Great job. Like, that's what I could get behind. So yeah, fine, fair. I'll give it to any of the other bullshit. I think is preposterous.
Yeah, I don't see much in birthdays. I was just trying to think of it. Like, there's really not much except you made it another year. I mean, I really don't care about my birthday at all. However, like everybody that like my family's like, oh, it's your birthday on Thursday. Like, doing anything? It's like, no, not really. Just it's another day. I'm traveling for work.
What's the best birthday gift you've ever gotten, Lurch? And Riggs and Trent. I don't know why I just said it to just you, but I'll open the floor.
Birthdays weren't always so big. Christmas for us was always the big one. Like birthdays, I got actually a Rangers starter jacket, I think, for my birthday one year, which was phenomenal when I was a youngster. But like for Christmas, we had big stuff.
He didn't ask about Christmas.
I know, but I'm just
mine is from a girl I was dating at the time, a trip to Washington, D.C. And I had never, a big, politics guy, I love elections and all that. I'd never been down there. I love history. We saw the original Constitution, which is, like at the National Archives. We got a tour of the Capitol building. We saw the Lincoln Monument, and she kind of booked and set the whole thing up. Only mistake she made, our flight back was literally during the Super Bowl on Sunday evening, which was a tough break for her because she booked it 2 months in advance, didn't even think about that. But that was a great birthday gift, so that was a good one.
I don't know if my internet's working. I don't think the internet's working over here.
Oh, no,
I don't
I
think
can't hear him.
his audio is just not working,
His volume
unfortunately.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
That room, man. That room sucks, but I just don't. Are you guys hardwired in there? I see the other day I was shit talking that room, and someone snarky or snide from Frank the Tank said that there's just a way of that not happening. You just plug it in. It's like, all right, I don't know.
It will never cease to amaze me that the internet is horrible And the worst that anyone ever experiences it on this show is when they are in the podcast studio trying to do it. So, Trent's just, I gotta tell you, he's just sitting there.
We've got people walking in their room now.
That looks like
all
his-
business Pete just walked in.
He's got the same look every day. He's got that blue button down that's rolled up to his
Little
elbows.
wrinkled.
Exactly.
Yeah, just
Little wrinkled around the hips.
pathetic version of Steve Jobs' outfit is
Yes.
all business Pete's outfit.
Always just a pair of jeans or maybe khakis, and then he'd always wear the Adidas white shoes that are way too dirty.
Yeah, way too dirty. It's a good time, by the way, to talk about this right here, which I got in my little hands. And this
Your little
one,
hands.
this is for. Well, I just kind of said that to get through everything.
Kind of tough.
Well, it's just like, oh yeah, we're gonna go to your little restaurant there. It's
Yeah,
it's
but
just how
like,
people talk.
I get that, but like,
Little hands stand all different. I mean, I think
I'm gonna show you
anybody can agree.
But
I'm gonna show you this
I
drink in
mean-
my little hands. It's like, yikes, dude.
All right,
you know?
in my normal hands. All
There
right,
you
is
go.
that
I think
fine?
you have normal hands. That's why it's like.
No,
don't,
I
you know.
do. I agree. Thank you. Hey, can we talk about what's in my normal size hands that I shouldn't have said little hands?
Owen's mixers, man, the ultimate mixer. We've got that thing lined up at Borelli's right now. People are drinking mixers like you wouldn't believe. It's catching fire on Long Island. I mean, it's the summer of the mixer.
Are we getting any grapefruits over there, Frankie? I see all the obviously Transfusion mix is going crazy over there at Borelli's, but are we getting any grapefruit and lime?
Yeah, we've got some of the big ones too that I guess they sell to the restaurants. It's nice. The big mixers. They
Yeah.
got the grapefruit. They've got the club soda and lime. So it's a really good mixer. And there's Trent. Trent is back with us.
With a smile. Looks like he's pretty confident he can talk.
I don't know. Can you guys hear me?
Nope.
Oh,
Oh, his lips are moving and there's no audio coming out of those things.
I think after it was mute, he shrunk 2 inches. He just like was all confident, here I come, and then nothing.
And for the second show in a row, all the listeners are like, fucking Frankie joins the show again and the fucking flow's all off. Little do they know that we got rats eating the fucking wires at Barstool headquarters, and that's why the hell we can't hear each other.
Anyways, Owen's Mixers, okay? You go Amazon, get Owen's Mixers delivered to you. They're big supporters of the show, so big thanks. And go check them out at your local stores. They got owensmixers.com. It's a store locator. You can just figure out where they have it and go acquire it. Jon Taffer. So, Frankie's been on Bar Rescue before. He is one of the most electric people in the history of entertainment. I mean, everything that he does. Him dressing down office manager Brett, maybe my favorite moment in the history of Barstool Sports. And then he's been on our show before, and he's great. He actually got started out in the golf industry, and like the golf hospitality industry.
Jon Taffer is one of those people that it doesn't matter what subject he's talking about. He may not even know that much about the subject, but his presence and the release of the information that he gives just makes it sound like he's been an expert in the field for 30 to 40 years, right? He could be talking about hockey. He could be talking about golf. He could be talking about restaurants. He could be talking about a movie theater experience. He's so confident and he is so knowledgeable about so many different things that I just love to talk to him. I can't wait to speak to him. At this point right now, as we're talking, we have yet to speak to him. We have him tomorrow. So it's just it's always a pleasure with my pal Jon Taffer.
Yeah, you're right. He speaks with full conviction, and he's extremely convincing. People always talk about like Bill Clinton in the like South Park did he's just like the most convincing person. He can convince anybody to do anything anytime. Taffer, I think, is like that with just like verbally when he dresses somebody down or discusses a topic, like Frankie said. I will believe everything that he says. He could just start like demanding to me that the sky is red, and I would just walk around for the rest of my life and be like, the sky's red, you idiots. Did you hear Jon Taffer? So
you know what he does? And this could be like, I guess if you go to like communication school, or if you took a class on how
Trent just sometimes
Back on screen.
the video shows like what's going on in front of Trent's face with I see Jake Bass and Pete and everybody, and then it just pans to Trent, who now there's this important moment where Trent, I think, is about to speak, and we're going to see if he can be heard.
The moment's also building, too, because every time he comes up empty, it gets worse and worse. So, Trent?
Can you hear me?
No, nothing.
No,
No,
nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Just go home, dude.
Oh,
You know?
It's not gonna work today.
Pick up your shit and get the fuck out of there. Get out of there.
Man, you got to be anywhere else, dude. Anywhere else in the world you could do a podcast from. I did it from the beach at the Barstool Classic, Half Moon Bay, the ocean in the background. There's golf balls flying over me. I had perfect connection.
So
Perfect.
true. You could do it literally anywhere in the world. You could probably do it on the fucking moon better than you can at the office.
I just tethered it to my phone and I just did it literally from the cliffs of California. Not a Wi-Fi signal in sight, and I was able to get it done. And Trent's in our headquarters, and boy, he just can't be heard.
One of the things I want to say about Jon Taffer is, like, if you went to a class on how to present or how to speak to people and be convincing, he does this thing that I'm sure is by design. Have you ever noticed that when he's saying something, he nods his head yes, so that you then have to agree with what he says, right? Like, he does this on Bar Rescue all the time, and he'll do this in this show, right? So he'll walk in and be like, okay, we're going to rearrange this bar because it's dark in this side, correct? And he's nodding your head, and you're like, yup, it's dark over here. And we want the light to reflect through those windows to the back of the bar. And as he's saying this, he's nodding yes, and you're like, oh my God, this is the information I've always wanted. And he does it with everything because he is so fucking good at speaking, and I love him. He's an inspiration of mine, honestly. His rise to the top on how he's built his little empire on, like, he has a stranglehold on restaurant business, and I don't know anyone else that is kind of like him. I don't know another person that's like Jon Taffer. He's 1 in a billion, and I just fucking love him.
Yeah, I do too. He's the best. He's coming up on this show after we go through a bunch of From the Galleries and some headlines. All right, Trent Ryan has rejoined us. He has had an army of human beings that are professional technicians when it comes to producing shows in his studio. And now, Trent, would you like to grace the listeners with your beautiful voice?
Hello. It's great to be back. We had all business Pete and tech guy Andrew in here trying to figure it out. I think we got it figured out. I think you guys can hear me now, which is great. I did want to add something to the birthday conversation. You guys were saying that they were pointless and meaningless, and I agree with that to an extent. But I think this last year has made birthdays maybe a little bit different. I think just getting through another year is good enough for me. Like, I think it is an accomplishment. I know people, the joke is always, oh, you didn't accomplish anything. Why are we celebrating your birthday? Feel like that's changed just a little bit.
I agree. I have a question though. Is Trent frozen for anybody else?
Trent's frozen, super frozen. He just hasn't moved. I think we can still hear him. Trent, you can speak to us, but you can't move. Is that correct?
I saw my frozen screen and I looked like shit. I'm glad we got rid of it just now. But can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
That's all that matters, Trent. I think
Right.
what you said applies to a lot of years. It doesn't, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be just this year. I think getting through fucking life in general is just, a celebration.
But I will not go as far as to say as I'm not like someone like Frankie who continues to tell people when his birthday is, wants to celebrate the week leading up to it. That's a little too much for me.
Right. That selfish behavior isn't good for anybody.
Listen, it's a party. People enjoy it. It's not like it's a bad thing, right? Like, if we're celebrating stuff, that's not necessarily a negative. It's not like I'm walking around like a pity party for a week. We're going to bars. We're getting cake. Who doesn't like cake? Sure, I'm at the end of it. I'm the one getting sang to. I'm the one getting the presents. But, like, everyone's involved in what's supposed to be a cheery event.
That might be what it is, that you at the end of the day, you are the center of attention during all of that time. So maybe you enjoy that aspect of it.
Yeah, man. Listen, I get a break from being like, why don't you go behind the camera, pizza boy, and then it's like everyone sings happy birthday to me. It's a nice little mix up in the daily routine.
That reprieve is helpful for you when you just get destroyed all day. You need that happy birthday Frankie song.
I stare at the candles as they burn. I'm just like,
that might be the sickest thing about you, is that in spite of all the abuse that you take, the curing thing for you is a bunch of people standing around saying happy birthday Frankie might be the most maniacal thing about you.
A nice peanut butter ice cream cake too.
Yeah, that does sound nice. I think we figured it out. I think we solved, what birthdays are really for, which is like we're always looking for a reason to just get together and rally around something. We don't really give a shit what it is. Might be a sporting event, it might be a holiday, it might be somebody's birthday. So no matter what it is, it's a good reason to get together and be happy and sing to Frankie. So I'm in for it. Happy birthday, Lurch. That's really the bottom line here. Thursday is Lurch's birthday when this show goes out. Next month or August, we'll have to deal with Frankie's birthday. You're like a birthday week guy, right, Frankie?
Yeah, especially this year. It's getting taken away from me. Like I said, we'll have to celebrate maybe August 9th, 10th, or 11th and 12th. But Lurch, happy birthday. How old are you turning?
34.
Oof.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, almost never should have brought it up. No, I mean, that's fair. That's a bad age.
It's almost
34.
40, dude. You're basically 40, right?
No, don't get crazy on that.
You know what?
It's certainly almost 35.
When Trent turns 34, he's going to puke.
I'm at the age now, where I'm at now, because I actually ran into this problem last night. At the end of a tweet for, just to cap off a tweet, I was going to put my age, and I actually didn't do it because I'm afraid of how old I'm getting. I'm not 34, but it's like I'm getting close to those ages, and I'm at the point now where I just don't want people to know how old I am.
Dude, I'm sorry. 30s are, for me, infinitely better than 20s, in my opinion. Like, I just think life's better.
I hope so.
I do. I just think life's better. Like, you know who you are more. You're like you're more grounded in who you are. You've in theory like moved up more, so you have a little bit more like resources, and you can kind of like do stuff and do what you want, and you're not as immature. Like half of my 20s or more, it's like you don't even fucking remember it. Like you're such an idiot doing such stupid shit. Whereas in your 30s, like you go to a little bit like nicer dinners, and you kind of do stuff that's a little bit more meaningful. And like I said, you kind of have the means, at least a little bit more, to like do some cool stuff. Whereas again, in your 20s, you're just trying to like fucking get through it and get like day to day and get bar to bar and get like drink to drink, which is fun. It's cool. You're young. But I just think, I don't know, my 30s I think are more enjoyable than my 20s.
I just don't feel that much different than I was in my 20s. Like I don't know. I haven't changed all that much about my life, and some of those things are becoming far less cute.
Well, I also think, Trent, you're a big like, I think like Friday night through Monday morning, you just like to not leave your apartment. So I figure that's probably not going to change that much.
Yeah, and I guess there is a part of me that got into this job or this line of work because I didn't want to grow up like the rest of my friends were going to have to grow up. But that has its limits.
It's a fucking therapy session right now.
Yeah, this is getting deep.
I was going to say, like, so from the perspective of someone that's in their 20s, I'm 27, turning 28 August 13th, I don't think I still don't think I'm a full human being. Like my brain is still developing at this point. Like I wasn't a normal human being in my 20s, and I still am in my 20s. Like I'm still wearing sweatpants to Borelli's and jumping on tables and watching hockey games. I'm still like living in my parents' fucking in my bedroom that I've been in for the last 15 years with flags all over the walls. Like yeah, it's probably a little late. Like I shouldn't be doing that at 27, but like I think when I'm 33, 34, I'll have it all figured out, hopefully. But yeah, your 20s are your time to learn and shit. Every decade, I think, has its thing that goes along with it. And the 20s is definitely a learning experience. 30s, I'm looking forward to. 34 is a little old for me. 30 to 33, I'm looking forward to.
There's probably a good amount of truth to the fact that just like you should always convince yourself that like the period that you're in is like the
best.
The prime time.
Correct.
It's like just for your mental sanity, I think that should be the move.
100%. You putting your head on the pillow each night, you should believe that, no, this is the best spot in life that I could potentially be. And I think we're all just talking about like the same things in different ways. Like Riggs is like, no, like I'm like the most financially set. So like my life's great. Like I've got a good spot. I know exactly who I am. Frankie's like, oh, you can be like more outgoing in your 20s. It's like, yeah, I mean, you can do a little piece of everything.
I want it to be clear that I'm very happy. I am very happy. Like I like the things that I like to do. I just wonder, some people are probably like, I can't believe that guy still does those things. That's
like, what are those things though, Trent? Like what are things, you mentioned some things that were a little less cute. I would love to know what those items are.
I mean, I'm an aging blogger. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
That's just a thing that I was not prepared for.
Okay.
So you're just not all right. So the stereotypical 30s, you should be like moving up into like a a management or like C-suite position in an office overlooking a city. That's like what people think of the 30s, and you're saying sitting behind a computer blogging about The Bachelorette is something that you didn't anticipate doing.
But again, I like doing those things, and I want to continue. But I'm sure this society's kind of like, that's kind of weird.
You're more like, I feel like the only negatives that anyone's really finding about like being 30 or 34 or whatever, I'm already 34 by the way, is like what other people think, not like where you're at as a person, which is like, who gives a fuck what other people think? I know that's not easy. Like, we all do care to a degree, but if you really step back and look, like, if you're happy and you're crushing Sour Patch Kids and blogging about The Bachelor, like, who cares?
I'm so happy.
Bro, we all fall into this shit that we care about. We all do what everyone wants us to do. Or else, like, a lot of us would just move to a fucking island and just, like, survive and live life. You know what I mean?
Well,
if we didn't care about fucking status and like, family and all that stuff, if you just cared about your own self and like, happiness of your own self, there's no chance half the people in this world would sit in the rat race and be fucking sitting on the Long Island Railroad every morning and going to some office job like my buddy Rob, who loses his teeth in his fucking tuna sandwich. Rob's losing his hair. His tooth is stuck in his fucking ham and cheese sandwich. The guy fell down an attic the other day, almost broke his fucking neck in half. He's sitting there. He's never laughed at work. Never laughed at work.
Bro, when you told me that a couple years ago, that might be the hardest I've ever laughed at work. When you came out to me and you said, my buddy Rob just sent me this thing where he said he's never once laughed at work, that is just, that's a dark place.
One of the saddest things ever stated on this podcast, I think, was exactly that Rob's never laughed at work. Just thinking about that is the most depressing thing. So if he gets to 34 and hasn't laughed yet, then he's got to figure something else. He's got to make his own decision.
I don't know what Rob looks like, but I have pictured him telling you that he's never laughed at work with the most deadpan look on his face of like, no, I've never laughed at work.
I think I presented to him in a question. I'm like, dude, like, you don't like, have you ever laughed? And he goes, God, no. Like, the thought of there ever being a moment where the people in that little room bursted out into laughter was like, he was beside himself. Like, in what scenario would that come up? I don't even know that he speaks the same language as the people in the room with him, so there's really just no communication. It's very, very funny, but my point being, people like that would just fucking move to Fiji if they, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They would just
but my counter to that would be that like family and being around your friends and stuff is like a part of your selfishness. Like, that's what people like to do. Like, if you're just on an island alone, that wouldn't be fun. Then you're just Tom Hanks in Castaway, and he's a crazy person. So I think, like, there's an element, like, maybe you would just chill and, like, have drinks in the backyard with your buddies, like, every single day, all the time, and never go to work. So, yes, there is, like, a certain part of, like, rat race society that's always going to drive us. I just think, and I'm not even saying, like, you're financially set in your 30s. You're just, in theory, most people should be, like, more financially safe in their 30s than they were in their 20s. And therefore, I think you can, like, when you have that, you have the means to kind of do more of what you want. Whereas when you're in your 20s, especially in like your young 20s, you really don't have any options because like you probably don't have any fucking money and you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're going out and you're like going to Bro J's and drinking all the time. You live in New York and you're spending the money that you do have and you just like, I don't know, you're just kind of running from thing to thing and you're not really, whereas again, I think that when you're, for me at least, in 30s, I'm a little bit more set in like who I am and there's a little bit more of a picture painted of like who I'm going to be. And I'm more comfortable with that. Whereas I think you're more susceptible in your 20s to like societal pressures and like what's everyone else doing and am I getting left behind? Like, is this guy doing better than I am? Even though you shouldn't give a fuck about that, I think people care more about that in their 20s.
So I'm in the middle of a move right now. I'm moving into the same building but a different unit. And last night I was,
which is so funny by the way.
It's just easier again. And but last night I was live tweeting The Bachelorette from a beach chair in my living room because I don't have a couch right now because it was Robbie's couch. He took it. So I was just in an outdoor beach chair live tweeting The Bachelorette. And I wouldn't have it any other way, quite honestly.
Will you get a couch?
Yeah, I already ordered one. It gets here on the 1st. So there's just like a little bit of
I can
gap.
see you getting very content with the beach chair and that going on for months upon months. And you're just like, I'm not going to get a couch.
No, I ordered a couch, so that'll be here the 1st of July. So there's just a little bit of a gap. But if I had discovered beach chair life before I got the couch, then I might just roll with the beach chair.
We also can't see Trent during this whole podcast. We're just looking at a big orange J that stands for Jake Bass. I guess the audio, I guess the visuals are just not working on this pod. So it's very funny to hear Trent's voice project behind the letter J on the Cisco WebEx.
Trent, can you see us right now?
I can, yeah.
Can you see me right now?
Yeah, you're holding some Oars and Alps.
Wow. We like Oars and Alps, don't we, Trent?
Dude, I honestly, so that spray that you're holding right now, it's 50 SPF. If you put that on your body and you go out in the sun, you cannot tell that you went out in the sun. And I'm not kidding. That is the best sunscreen, suntan lotion stuff that I have ever come across. You will put it on, you won't get burnt. You might get a little bit of a tan. I actually look a little tan right now, but you will not get burnt, and that is a promise.
Yeah, I mean, we were putting this stuff on once, twice a day out in San Diego. It was sunny every single day. The beauty of it, I mean, we've all put on suntan lotion before, is a lot of the other stuff is just awful for your skin. Like, they just cake crap in there that will, stop the sun from getting to your skin, but it, like, clogs up your it's just awful for you. Oars and Alps, which is, I mean, it's in their deodorant, it's everything. It's all natural, baby. This stuff is legitimately good for your skin, and it repels the sun. Frankie, you need to repel the sun, I feel like.
I do, and I'm trying to get more in the sun. Last year, I got tan for a hot minute, and it's actually stuck with me. When I'm in the, so I think I've officially changed my skin color on the parts that are exposed, right? Like, even during the winter, there's still a shade you could see where my shorts ended. Even in the dead of winter. So now that I'm like, I have a base almost of not so transparent white, but now it's just white. So I'm trying to work on each summer to getting that to change. But this Oars and Alps After Sun Cooling Spray with the aloe and kikuya oil, you could throw those words on a bottle, and I'm going to spray that on me every single time I come back in the house after the sun. And I'm telling you, this thing works wonders. Trent has been a big advocate for this because he says that it turns that red right into a nice tan. It is fantastic. It's cooling. When you come in from the sun, maybe you take a shower and you're feeling cool, you come outside, you come out of the shower, you put this thing on, and you lay in bed after it dries. Holy smokes, is that a nice way to end your night?
Yeah, when we got back from Kiowa, and I was burnt because they took my Oars and Alps at the airport when I was going through security, I got back and I was burnt from standing out in the South Carolina sun. But when I put on that post-sun spray, it's very cooling and calming, and it doesn't feel like you're as burnt as you might be. Riggs has got the whole lineup.
Yeah, I'm just kind of doing a whole thing over here. But Oars and Alps, they are really, really good. Right now, our listeners, that's you guys, you can receive a free pack of cooling and cleansing wipes, also great to keep you fresh on the course, when you buy any 2 SPF products. All you need to do is visit oursandalps.com/Fore. That's oursandalps.com/FORE. Get any of these 2 SPF products. I got their, their little chapstick, lip balm, whatever you want to call it, to protect those lips. They got this.
Great.
This is like their nice, more face cream that goes, on your face if you don't want to be putting spray stuff on.
So that stuff is my favorite because it's moisturizer for your skin and it also provides sunscreen. How they rested on the number 37, that's besides me. I'm not sure how they got.
Well, it tells you that they're really just focused on the science and they're accurate, right?
Right. No, that's my favorite. I use that pretty much every day for sun protection. But then also if I feel like I got burned on my face because I didn't apply, I add that as well. So that's the best product in the market, I would say.
oursandalps.com/Fore. Get yourself any 2 SPF products and you're going to get a free pack of cooling and cleansing wipes. Oars and Alps is great stuff. So
do you guys know what SPF actually indicates, the number?
Sun protection formula.
I think it's, I want to say it is it number of like hours or something like that you would be protected, or it's like something nobody would think of, but I'm not right. What is it, Frank?
So SPF,
what does SPF even mean though, Riggs? Do you know what that stands for?
Sun protection
formula
or formula or something.
That's what I said, yeah.
Sun protection factor, SPF.
Okay.
The number beside it indicates how well the sunscreen protects against skin from sunburn. It is not an indicator of how long you can stay out in the sun. Rather, it indicates how much longer it takes an untanned skin to start to redden without the sunscreen applied, compared to how long it would take to start to redden without it.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
So I guess explain that to me like I'm 5.
Yeah, I didn't even understand.
So if you're
that.
buying SPF 4, that's just the biggest waste of money I've ever heard, because that's giving you 4 extra minutes before you get a burn.
Well, I don't think it said minutes.
No, it's not minutes.
I think it was just a factor. It was just like kind of its own scale.
Oh, okay.
It
right, that's
indicates
the part
how
I'm
much
unclear
longer. It indicates how much longer it takes untanned skin to start to redden with sunscreen applied compared to how long it takes to redden without it. That's from
science.org. So I would assume different skin colors take different time, like different lengths of time to burn.
Correct.
Right.
So Frankie, yeah, what's your factor? You might be as soon as the sun sees you.
For example, if it typically takes you 15 minutes to burn without sunscreen, and you apply SPF 10, it will take you 10 times longer, 2.5 hours, to burn in the sun. So there we go.
So that reapply then is very important.
Yes. And also, it's evident that they keep saying if it typically takes you 15 minutes to burn, then using an SPF 10, you will now have 10 times the amount of time to not burn. So I may burn in 2 minutes. You may burn in fucking 30. So you may need a less SPF. There we go. We cracked it. Oars and Alps.
We cracked it. Speaking of cracking it, Trent cracking 100, breaking 100. I imagine there'll be another episode this week, Trent. Is that correct?
New episode comes out tonight. This comes out on a Thursday. That the second attempt to break 100 will be out tonight. Me and producer Jake, we drove out to Queens. We went to Clearview Park Golf Course, where Riggs had a match against Paige Spranick once upon a time. There may be a clip of that in the video that we're putting out, but as you would assume, Riggs. But yeah, tonight, breaking 100, attempt number 2. Make sure to watch it. It's a good one.
Yeah, that match resulted in me in a thong jumping into a pond,
which is unfortunate for everyone.
As a shame
for everyone,
especially when you compare it to what the alternative result could have been.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, prepare to potentially see that image again in this video.
Mentally prepare thyself for that. Okay, so that is tonight on our YouTube channel, Foreplay Golf. Trent, I will say that, I put out this little tweet about send us some from the galleries questions, because there's a very substantial number of them just want to hear how the breaking 100's going. So without revealing, particular results and ruining videos, spoiling anything, can you give the folks an update on how, you're progressing as a double-digit golfer?
I would say it's going well. It's going in a direction that I didn't necessarily anticipate when we first started it. Like, here's the trajectory that I originally saw was I go down there, I train with JT, he teaches me a new swing, we sort of restructure it, I get better at golf, and then I'm able to just take all of those things that he told me and immediately put them into practice. But what happens is you take those things and it's so much information that you are then just putting in small pieces along the way. It's not like I got all the information and now it's, in the Matrix when they get into the helicopter and the guy is like, hey, I need to know how to fly a helicopter. And they just upload it to his head. That's how I thought my golf swing was going to go. But it's a much, and I knew this intellectually, but I was so excited about getting a new swing and working with JT that I wanted it to happen immediately. But what I'm finding is that I am getting better. I get better every single time, whether or not the score shows that. And it's just, once all the pieces work together, it's going to be an awesome, awesome golf swing, and my game is going to be a bazillion times better than it was. But it's just a process. The whole thing is one big process. I'm practicing. I'm grinding on putts in my apartment. And then when all those pieces come together, we're really going to have something.
Yeah, I mean, look, if someone can give you all the knowledge about how to lose weight, and they can tell you nutritionally how to eat, and they can tell you the workouts to do.
Feels like we're still talking about me.
Unless you do them, you're not really gonna lose weight or look better. And I think that
Trent,
in golf, that's similar, because we've all gone through phases where I'm gonna make a concerted effort to get better. And you get the information, you get the knowledge, you get a lesson, you watch a YouTube video, whatever it is. But then unless you actually go out and ingrain those new things that you've learned into your swing, into your game, you don't just magically get better. And that can psychologically be very frustrating, because you actually usually get worse before you get better.
Yeah. And that could potentially maybe be happening with me. But yeah, it is. That's what it is. You explained it perfectly. I have the knowledge. John Tillery, JT, he's a great swing coach. He's a great guy. He has given me all of the tools, and he's still like we still touch base all the time. And you'll see in the video that comes out tonight, like I wasn't able to see him in person. We WebExed and we did a lesson and all that stuff. So it's just a process. That's what I'll say. But I'm enjoying it because I know that at the end of it, I'm going to be much, much better.
I like watching too because I know that you really want to do right by JT, and your swing has changed dramatically. I mean, when we played, you have at least you might have 30% more length than you had before. It's just now kind of dialing it all in. And I think when I'm intrigued because I think the future for you is not just 100. I think it is that, I would say, high 80 mark in the not too distant future.
Well, and that's another thing too with I do have more distance, and it's also figuring out now what my actual distances are with my clubs, because before I knew them when I was swinging with just my arms. I knew the distances there. They weren't very long, but I knew what they were. Now that there's more things moving and I'm hitting the ball further, I have to recalibrate my brain on what club to hit on what shots. So that's another part of it too.
Totally.
Yeah,
I think everybody is.
And I mean it. I know you don't think I mean it, but I mean it. I want you to break 100. I want you to get really good at golf. I can see on your face and your body language that you are passionate and genuinely frustrated when you are not hitting good golf shots, which is a sign of a guy, I think, who's now kind of addicted to getting better, which is the whole point. So
right, yeah, and here
I love it.
Here's the real part of it too. Yeah, and you are right, because when I was playing my old game, I knew what it was, and I knew that it was really bad. So when I went out there was no level of frustration when the wheels really came off. I was just like, I fucking suck. Like, I know that. It's pretty clear. It's clear to everyone. But now that I've been given the tools and the training to be better, and when I try to execute that and it doesn't happen, that's where the frustration comes. And I've seen it on you guys. I've seen it when we play and you guys are not playing as well as you want to play, but you know that you can. Then you create a little gap of frustration, and I'm now sort of experiencing that for the first time. I've been frustrated on the golf course before, but now it feels even more magnified because I know that there's something better in there.
Totally.
Welcome to golf. Honestly, welcome to golf. The damn thing's a game of misses, game of frustration. Rarely do you put your best game forward. I don't know if I've ever, for 18 holes, like I've been like, oh, wow, I played like that's the best golf I could ever play. And so just welcome to the misery and love that is the game of golf, honestly.
I don't think this is going to happen, but am I going to get to the end of this and be like, man, I'm just furious and I shot like a 91? Or am I don't think that's what I'll be like, because I really do want to get better, and it'll be much more fun if that happens, when that happens, than I would be if I'm just like, oh, yeah, I just keep going out there shooting 108 to 110, and I'm just laughing the whole time.
Well, I think what'll happen is you will get to a point, I think, Trent, very confident, where you are going to shoot like 91, and everyone's going to be like, hooray, kumbaya, and you in your head are going to be like, I fucking should have shot 83. God, I left so many shots out there, and I can tweak that. There's no excuse to hit this shot, Trent. You're better than that. And then you will, like, someday, if you especially keep going, like, shoot 83 or something, be like, man, I could have broken 80 so easily. Like, those shots are boneheaded. And then it's just an infinite chase, and that's the beauty of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think on top of that, too, it's like everybody, I certainly believe, like, you're a good athlete. And so I think to this point, you've never put, like, a good athletic swing that's, like, the best Trent swing that you could do into a golf ball. And now I think you're getting close to that. So then it will open up almost a can of worms in a sense, where you'll hit really good shots. You'll see that you're not on others, and it will bring the love of golf, which is just like a game of misses, frustrations. And then all of a sudden you find that perfect swing that one time, and you're like, that was sweet.
There's no doubt it's going to be more fun for you. It's just going to bring in the frustration when you shoot a 105 to 110, just like it does for every golfer when they shoot a horrible score. Yeah. Like every time I'm on camera, I shoot a fucking high 90 or 100. It fucking infuriates me. But that's just the game of golf.
Yeah,
that Torrey Pines video that's out right now, I thought that was a pretty damn good video for like what we did. We kind of just like, we had the one camera out there and the freelancer. I thought that was a very enjoyable video.
I agree. I thought they did a great job with it. It's beautiful. The views are awesome, mixed in with us playing that bitch from 7,800 yards.
Watching Lurch on 6 was very funny. Just couldn't figure out that drive.
Just not even close. Just
No.
right again. Wrote down a 9. On to the next hole we go. But that, I mean, like, to Trent's point, that's just it. That's the off. It's like I wanted to hit it straight. I just couldn't.
Frankie,
the old Happy Gilmore line.
You beat Lurch by 5 shots in that hole.
I did. I beat Lurch for the whole day.
And we actually played that hole as a par 5. They play that as a par 4. So that's a mistake on our end.
I made a 4 anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I've trying to shoot the lowest score possible.
Yeah, that Torrey Pines video, that was tough. That was before I saw JT. That was I remember at one point just being like, they shouldn't have allowed me on this golf course from this distance. It's so hard.
Yeah, that was the one we did that podcast after, and that was the most dejected on a golf course, or really anywhere I've ever seen my man Trent Ryan, who's just a positive, kind of man all the time. You were sad.
But yeah, so check out Breaking 100 tonight. Stick with me, ride with me. We're gonna get this thing done. It's gonna be a fun ride.
So Trent, I did mention that we have a bunch of From the Galleries, and while we're talking about this, I'm just gonna expedite and get to this guy, Andy from the UK, who just wrote an email and said, "Does Trent realize how much of an impact his Breaking 100 series is having to golfers of similar standards like myself on similar journeys across the world? It's just great to see the normalization of golf like we play it instead of constant professional golf."
That's very nice of him to say, and I appreciate that. And what I would say is that I think that's really the beauty of this podcast. If you look at it from a larger place, like we have guys at all different levels. So we're very relatable to people at all different levels. Sure, percentage-wise, most golfers in the world are probably like me, and they're struggling. They're trying to break 100. That's sort of where it is. But we've got guys in this podcast at all different stages of the amateur weekend hacker golfer, and I think that really just speaks to us as a group. Like we can connect with a lot of people because our abilities, our ranges are so massive. If that makes sense.
I totally agree. And I like, it's funny because sometimes we get so much hate online about our swing or whatever. And like, but I do think most people side with you of like, if I had to count every damn stroke that I put on that golf ball for a day, could I honestly break 100? And it's like, it's not easy to do. Golf is not an easy game by any means. And we all are at different levels. And like, I think I had a moment with honesty of Trent. We were driving somewhere this past weekend, and I just looked at him. I was like, I might have just plateaued in the game of golf. Like, I don't know if I'm going to get any better. And it is the most frustrating thing in the world. I almost still wish that I was like an 18 and felt like I was going to shave so many shots off my game. Because right now I'm in a spot. It's like, and Riggs, I don't know if you feel the same way, but it's just, I don't know if I'm going to get much better at this game of golf.
Well, I'm at a point, I would say, where I know I can't get much better or any better really unless I make some fundamental changes, right? Like with like the technique that I have now ingrained in the muscle memory and all of that, with like my swing and my short game and all that, like unless I make a fundamental change to my golf swing, I don't think it's possible for me to get better. I just can't hit the ball consistently and far enough with my current swing to like get much better. Now with my whole game, I could like slap it around and post scores in the mid to high 70s occasionally, but like, man, those guys, we've all played with those guys that are legitimate scratches or +1 or 2 handicaps, and like they just hit the ball out there pretty far, pretty straight on the green all day long, and I just don't do that unless like my swing is better, closer to theirs. I can't do that, and that would require substantial changes, I think, to my swing that I would love to try to make, but it's like, who has the time to do that? Like, I get that it looks like we're just on a golf course living our best life all the time. We can practice all the time. Like, who the fuck has the time to do that? And who knows how to? Like, we've talked about that too. Like, I don't know how to go to a driving range and genuinely get better. Like, I just go out there, I fucking hit a couple 9-irons. I start to flush them because I just get in a groove, and I've hit 7 in a row. And I'm like, all right, figured out the 9-iron, baby. And then, like, you do the same thing with the driver, and eventually you're like, dude, I just hit 7 straight drives in a row. Golf's easy. You get on the course. Maybe you hit a couple good ones to begin, but then you start spraying a few, and you're back where you fucking started. Or you're a step backwards. Like, it's just, that's the game at this point.
That is true. That might be the saddest thing of all time, is that I don't know if I've ever actually fundamentally changed a mechanical thing in my swing. I've only changed a thought in my mind. Is like, oh, this feels a little bit different. Oh, I'll try this. And that's really the only change I've ever made in my swing.
Dude, but going to the range really does. It really opens your eyes at how practicing helps. We kind of talked about in the last podcast of what these guys do prior to the U.S. Open. But I went over to Cherry Valley, and I used their short range not too long ago. And I've never done this in my life, but they have a little range where it's a strip of driving range, and there's a green 70 yards away. And I just learned how to hit a 70-yard shot. Now, was I doing anything differently with like mechanically or technically? No. I was just learning in my brain how far do I have to go back and how hard do I have to swing for a 70-yard shot. And I must have hit 100 balls onto this green or around it from 70 yards. I'm taking divots. I'm feeling it. The next day or maybe like a week after I played, had a 70-yard shot, and I stuck it to like 5 feet. It like went 10 feet back, rolled closer to the hole, and I was just like, well, that's because I just did that 2 days ago, and I've never done that in my life because I've always gone to public driving ranges. I've never had a chance to go to a grass range and hit 70-yard shots for 3 hours under the sun. You know what I mean? Whenever I golf. I don't practice. So
yeah,
I'm never
I agree
seeing
with
that
the
shot.
distance side of the house. The distances you can like practice and get tighter. But like
And
if
that
you
makes a
made
huge
a
difference,
full,
dude.
no, totally makes a massive difference. Like anybody that goes that you got on the golf course with and like 110 yards, like what should I hit here? It's like, ooh, dude, like if you got that, like we're in for a long one here. But Frankie, have you ever made like a full swing mechanical change in the history of your game?
No, you know what's crazy with my
Exactly.
swing is that my swing is changing without me even realizing it.
Is it that age thing we talked about? Is that
no, dude? It's getting shorter. It's getting shorter, and I was talking to this about with someone. But if you go back and watch all my old videos, even with you guys, or like, oh, those are the only old videos. It's not like I have any other things aside from you guys. But
do you have like an old YouTube page?
No,
That'd be awesome.
I don't. But I used to go like so much further back, and I'm slowly going less and less back on my take back, and it's because of this goddamn shoulder. I'm telling you that I think it's I'm not even realizing it because where I'm bringing it back is just where it's comfortable, and that is now not as far back as it used to be. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Like to me, I just think I'm taking it back to where I've always taken it, and then I watch a video and I'm right here, and then I try and go back to where it should be, and I can't even stretch it. So it's a mixture of this injury that I have that I refuse to get taken care of. It's insane how stubborn I am with this fucking shoulder, and it's a mixture of that and age. And I just think that I don't know. It's kind of crazy when I watch it now on these foreplay YouTube videos how short it is, and I don't think that when I'm out there. I don't feel it. It's stunning.
And I think like you're right about the wedges and honing in. Like like practice is definitely going to make everyone better. I just think I'm pretty close. Like if I went out and really hit the range every day and like with pretty much my current swing, just refined it, I do think I get a couple strokes better on like my handicap, but I couldn't get to like a level of a scratch or a +1 or 2 player. Like I think I would have to make fundamental changes, but you're right. Like you could definitely. I mean, I've seen Hank Haney tweet about it a bunch of like people can just go and swing a club in their living room, and even if they're swinging imperfectly, everybody's swinging imperfectly. Literally everybody in the world is swinging perfectly. But if you like ingrain that muscle memory to where you get more comfortable over a ball and you can just swing, like you're just going to be better at the game because you're going to hit more solid shots. So yeah, practice is always going to make people better. I just don't think most people just don't fucking practice. It's hard to practice golf. Like you have to get there, you have to have a giant field where you can just hit golf balls into it. You have to actually find the time to drive there, to set up, to hit the shots, to like get. It's just you just have to find time to do it, and it's hard to do.
Lurch, when you mention that plateau, how much enjoyment does that take away from it? Does it take away anything from it? Because by all accounts, you're a good golfer. When you go out there, you play good golf. Does it take away your personal enjoyment knowing or thinking that you've plateaued a little bit?
No, I don't like. No, because I'm still striving to shoot that like under par.
Right.
So like I don't think that that's crazy out of the realm of possibilities. And actually, you talk to these people that are like golf savants, and just hearing that line about Hank Haney and nobody has a perfect swing actually just made me feel in that moment that like there's a path for me here. Like there's opportunity where I could get better.
I'm back, baby. Hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like in that one line, I was like, oh, not bad. I think there's actually a path for me to get better. But no, it doesn't take away the enjoyment so much. It's just another hurdle, because it's one thing of like, have I plateaued, but it might just be with this current swing or my current game, where I'm not dropping the strokes as I once was. So it's just a different hurdle in my golf game of how do I get a little bit better. And it's tougher because it's smaller amounts of increase.
Are you trying to get better at golf, or are you just trying to enjoy yourself and have a good day each time you play? Because I can't say to myself that I'm trying to get better at golf right now. I don't put in any work or any effort to be getting better at golf. I literally go out there with you guys, and maybe I go out with my buddies once in a while, and I just try and shoot as good of a score as I possibly can that day to have a good day and play good golf. But I'm not actively trying to get better. That's not what motivates me. And it probably should. That's how you get better. But I wonder what you guys think.
Yeah, mine's not that way at all. I'm like not trying to get better. But in that day, I'm trying to shoot the lowest score possible.
How are we supposed to do that without trying to get better?
Right. So then you're just in this like conundrum. However, if my range of consistency was like 1 billion, I would take that for just the low round and the high round. Rather to shoot like every round I go out there and I'm going to shoot between like 78 to 84, like most times. And like the most scores that I shoot, I'm going to go shoot an 81 or an 82. That is just like, okay, we just did it again. Like I just did like another 4.5 hours and like I didn't do anything. I'd just rather have the ability to shoot 68 or 500. Like I would just rather be in that, like, it's going to be a different day for
You're looking for a little spice in that relationship.
The whole time. You feel it coming the whole time. Like, like the movie plays out almost identically every time, where you're like, okay, today's my day, baby. You're coming off a fresh like range session beforehand. You hit a couple good ones. You're like, maybe a sloppy 3-putt there, and then you look, and next thing you know, you're like, well, guess what? I'm fucking 3 over through 6, like I always am. And like, oh, well, pretty good there on the front, Riggs. What'd you play? Like, 40, and like, oh, I shot 81. Like, same fucking round all the time. It's like, I thought you played well there. It's like, no, I played. So did I, but I also just played how I always play. And like, to speak to, like, I'm not making a concerted effort to get better. Like, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago now, where I posted like a couple David ads where I was like, okay, I'm on the range. I'm like really trying to change this about my swing. I'm going to make a legit effort to try to get better. Like, I think since then I've done 2 range sessions total. So it's like, it's like you just don't. No, that can't be considered a legitimate effort to get better. It just can't be. Like, that's not, like, that's a total of fucking maybe 3 hours over 3 weeks that, like, I tried to get a little bit better, and then all of that just goes away. Same as if you did a fucking really awesome workout. You ate great for 4 days, and then for the next 2 weeks, you ate like an asshole, and you didn't get off your couch. It's like you didn't really do anything.
Right. I wonder what the percentage of people that are actively trying to get better at the game of golf. It's got to be less than 5% of all golfers. Right? Like,
just weekend hacks is 99%. I would even say it's higher.
Right, 1%. 1% of the golfers in the world are actively trying to improve their game on a day-to-day basis. Like, so it's amazing that if you just set your mind to it, you are leaps and bounds ahead of 99% of other golfers in the effort that you're putting in to get better. So like what Trent is doing right now is actually pretty impressive compared to the vast majority of golfers in the world. He's actually putting in work, and he's putting in and implementing new systems to get better at the game. He's now elevated himself more than 99%. I mean, that's a number we're coming up with, of people in his area of the game.
I agree. And it's also hard to practice golf. Like, if you think about who has access to like truly considerably get better, you need to be like a member of a country club or something. Like, if you want to practice out of a bunker, you can't do that off like a mat range. It's just not easy to do. So yeah, T-Daddy, hats off to you, because you're in the 1%.
This last 10 to 15 minutes has made me feel much better about being a 20 handicapper, because you guys are just kind of like, you know, you guys are really good golfers, and it's kind of reaching to a point where you can't get all that much better. But it does go back to what Frankie said.
Watch who you're talking to for a second.
Well, yeah. But I was actually going back to what you said. You almost have to reframe the question, where it's like, when you go out there, what's your goal? Obviously, you don't want to shoot a crazy score, but if you just have fun and you shoot a halfway decent score, like, that's a good day.
It is, which I think
Totally.
99.999% of golfers, especially people listening to this podcast, unless you're a collegiate or high school golfer, or you're trying to make it on some sort of tour, or you're trying to pursue some sort of dream in golf, I don't know that your day-to-day basis or your experience on the golf course is anything different than just a guy going out there to drink a couple beers. It's just, you're just out there to have as good of a day as you could possibly have. And at the end, you're frustrated that you didn't get better, but you put in zero effort and work to get better.
Yeah, and I don't even know that I'm frustrated at the end of the day. Like when I didn't get better, didn't improve. And I would say even the classic weekend hack line is what'd you shoot? Oh, I made a par on 6 and then 2 pars on 14, 15. And then what'd you shoot? Around a 90. It's just everybody thinks they shoot around a 90, but nobody does. Yeah. And nobody cares to improve. It's more just no, I was out there with my buddies. I smacked it around, and this is that, and the day's over.
Yeah, the consensus is that it's just really hard game and really hard to try and improve. Sometimes when we're on these first tees, it's you just top one or you hit one out of bounds, and I'll just be I just drove in a car for the last 2 hours to get it. I was just sitting in traffic a minute ago, and now I'm playing a sport. You want me to swing this club 110 miles an hour and hit this ball straight? Give me I don't practice. I don't know what this swing is. I haven't played in 3 weeks. What do you want me to do? So it is funny that we put so much pressure on ourselves to fucking play well when we're on a tee box, and we don't put any effort in.
Well, something that we'll monitor when you are putting effort in is Whoop, the Whoop band, gentlemen. Which monitors your body. My current, I got to tell you, I feel good today. I'm kind of buzzing today because I woke up at an 83% recovery. And when you pop up and it's got that almost full green situation going on, it is like you just injected the best, energetic, I'm going to be focused drug into your system because your Whoop is telling you that you did a great job recovering and that you are ready to dominate the day. Really pretty game changing.
Yeah, I'm a 74% today. Still in the green, feels good, got some good sleep. Yeah, it tracks all that stuff. I really am addicted to knowing how much sleep I got. Whether it's good, whether it's bad. I just like knowing that I got 6 to 7 hours of sleep. And even if my recovery is lower and it's not as high as I would like it to be, if I know that I got 6 to 7 hours of sleep, I feel pretty good about myself. So just having the Whoop on, having it track my sleep is worth it for me, no doubt about it.
Jon Rahm tweeted out, or I think he was in an interview, someone tweeted out his response where he was I wish that we had something that could show our heart rate when we were out there on the golf course. He's I am by no means calm when I'm trying to make those putts on 17 and 18. And I saw Will Ahmed, the founder of Whoop, tweeted this sounds a lot like Whoop Live. That's just what they've invented. So Jon Rahm just used to hop on the Whoop train.
He does. Whoop can help with all kinds of things, but especially monitoring your body and give you Whoop Live, which is cool. They've been making waves across the PGA Tour this season. Some of our favorite golfers, Rory, JT, been hooked up and talking a lot about how they've learned a lot more about their bodies. Whoop is offering 15% off going on right now with the code FOREPLAY at checkout. That's one word, FOREPLAY, FOREPLAY. You go to whoop.com, WHOOP.com. That's whoop.com. Enter the code FOREPLAY at checkout. You will save 15%. It monitors your sleep, monitors your recovery, monitors your daily strain, gives you all sorts of data on your body and how you're doing so that you can obviously change your habits a little bit and optimize your performance. That's whoop.com. Use the code FOREPLAY for 15% off. All right, we've got a major championship this week. The women, the Kpmg Pga Championship this week. It's at Atlanta Athletic Club. That is where Keegan Bradley defeated Jason Duffner in a playoff, which feels like a billion years ago. But really cool track, a lot of water, very, very difficult. The PGA Championship, Women's PGA Championship, was when we had Danielle Kang on for the first time 3 or 4 years ago after she won that, which was a whirlwind of an interview, if you recall that one, Trent.
I do. Was she on her way to the airport?
Yeah, she was dropping her friend off at the airport, and she was driving, and then they decided at a red light that she shouldn't be driving while trying to do the interview, so they changed seats, and then the car or the light I think turned green, and it was a whole thing. But it's major week yet again. The U.S. Open obviously for the women was awesome at Olympic with everything that went on down the stretch. Yuka Sasso and we had Lexi Thompson, who unfortunately kind of melted down on the last 6 or 7 holes and didn't get it done. So it delivered awesome drama, and I'm sure we'll get that this week. So I'm excited to watch the Women's PGA Championship. And then we've also got the PGA Tour is up sort of in our neck of the woods, where we've spent most of our time, where all of you three are right now, which is in the Northeast in Connecticut. We've been to this event multiple times, the Travelers Championship, but always draws a good field, especially the last 4 or 5 years, I feel like. And we got a bunch of folks up at TPC River Highlands, so there's a little tour event going on in our neck of the woods.
Did we talk about how we saw Yuka Sasso at Torrey? Did we talk about that at all?
I don't know if we really did.
She's just wandering around the grounds with that big old trophy.
It was cool, man.
It was.
She was also just like dangling it with one hand, like I don't know, like it was a jump rope or something that she was just holding on to, when in reality it was like the U.S. Women's Open trophy.
It was big time. This whole thing energy with her carrying that thing around.
Mm-hmm.
She was just kind of dragging it along. I not on the ground or anything, but she just had it at her side, like, oh yeah, I won this thing. Remember that? And we're like, yeah, we definitely do remember that. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, there was a picture I saw where she was watching the guys finish up on 18 at the U.S. Open, and she had her hands behind her back, and it was just dangling out of her fingers, like as if it was like her credential or something. It was just kind of just ho hum. Here's the trophy.
Yeah, I remember like Abby Leibs, who does social media for the USGA. She put up some stuff. She just walked into like the merchandise tent, and Yuka Sasso was in there just like fiddling between T-shirts, holding the U.S. Open trophy in the other hand. It's like, it's awesome. So she's cool as hell, and they'll be, battling for another major. That the little piece that they did with her and Rory and Phil and how jacked up she was is just like a fan. Like she looked like us inside the ropes. Just couldn't believe that she was there. She's like pulling out her cell phone, taking videos of Rory hitting up close, taking videos of Phil hitting up close. Was really, really cool. And it's like, no, you're actually currently like the best women's player in the world. Like, you just won the biggest championship that they have. So for her to be that impressed with other people was really, really cool to see. But yeah, they're playing again this week, so that'll be awesome to watch. Always is. And it's a major championship. So get excited. And then, like I said, Travelers Championship. So there'll be a ton of golf going on. The old Travelers. I'm sure we'll see 8 million replays of Jordan Spieth throwing his wedge and the rake.
Yeah, I'd say.
And also quickly on that video, Rory comes off as just the best person in the world, as always.
He is the best person in the world, I think.
He is. I mean, but
dude, what day was that where we were? Oh, it would have been Wednesday when we recorded that podcast, or Monday when we were out we recorded on the grounds. And then we went up and saw Rory. He was hitting balls late in the afternoon, and that was the first time he kind of gave us like a "Hey, what's up?" He just stared at us. Did not even stare. That's not the right word. He held a gaze at us where it felt so genuine. And I know you had a similar experience with him after the tournament, Riggs, but he's very personable. And you wouldn't think that for a superstar like that, but he is.
Dude, he gave me almost like when you're grandma or something, you haven't seen her in like a year, and you're like, oh my God, like grandma, it's so good to see you. And you can see the genuine, like, thank you. Like, yes, it's been so long. Like, I lived for this stuff. That's the same sort of, like, almost passion that Rory just looks at you with when he says thank you, or says, like, what's up, boys? Where he looks at you and you're like, oh, man, this guy, like, it's almost like he needed this. Like, this meant a lot to him that he got to have this little back and forth stare with us for a second. In reality, it should be nothing to him. It should be a token, like, hat tip. It should not even be that. He shouldn't even look at us, and many times he hasn't. Yet all of a sudden, when he does actually respond to you, it is like it was his entire life. It was like he had spent days like waiting for this moment to just say thank you to you, and he did it in such a genuine way, or such a what's up, boys, that we all were kind of like, I would go to war for Rory McIlroy right now, and all we did was say, like, what's up, boys.
Right. I would have been less surprised if he had spit in my face. Like, if he had spit in my face, I'd have been like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes all the sense in the world.
You dirty dog.
Right. If he was just like, tuh, I was like, oh.
You missed.
I expected that more than a genuine, hello, what's up, guys? That's how stunned I was.
It makes sense to me, though. It seems as though he goes hard one way or the other, because when he ignores us, boy, does he ignore us.
Woo.
Never have I been passed by worse than I've been passed by Rory McIlroy. So the fact that he goes 100 miles an hour, balls to the wall, whether it's being very gracious and saying thank you, or it's like, get the fuck out of my way, I don't even see you as a human being standing there. He does both very, very well at the driving range.
True.
I will say we got acknowledgments both times, Frankie. So I don't know if it was a little bit of he's just glad that your wiry little body isn't there, or
maybe
just your blinding looks. Who knows? But he acknowledged us each time, which was a shocker, and like in kind of a, I would say, kind of a nice way. So maybe he's more open to talking with us.
Maybe.
It was kind of
crew just seems to be better out there without me, on all
no way.
I mean, yeah, a little bit, but I think that he gave us a very like, I know what you guys are about kind of like look,
which is just so opposite of what he's ever done, ever.
Do you think that's your nervous energy, Frankie? Because sometimes when like I feel like you get like nervous giggles, not giggles.
Well, no, I don't think so. I think when we were at the PGA, I talked to more people than you talked to at the U.S. Open. I think I can go up to people.
I mean, Jesus. I'm not.
Here we go with the whatever again. But, I mean, you literally asked me, do you think it's because I'm nervous, like a nervous energy on what my counterpoint?
Maybe just as it pertains to Rory.
Yeah, like I feel like you provide.
I think he's been ignoring four places before I fucking was on the podcast.
True.
I agree with that.
Rory has historically ignored us and said no to us regardless of who was on the microphone.
True.
And like literally had his people say like, we do not want any contact with foreplay. Like, I mean, it's been a long-standing.
As much as I enjoy the thought of Rory will not speak to us if Frankie Borelli is even in the same state, I think it had absolutely nothing to do with it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Same.
No, I would say, and nervous energy, I think you get nervous excitement around like that type of thing.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Is that wrong?
I think we all do. I think if you don't, then you're on the wrong podcast. Like, I think we are fanboys.
Fair.
Like, that's the kind of thing that we've always done. I'll always be a fanboy. I'm never going to take it for granted when I get all access passes or inside the rope stuff. I'm going to act like the child I am, because that is what Barstool is. We're a bunch of regular people. We're not fucking these Jeff Shacklefords that are going to go up to Rory McIlroy and act like he's a nobody because he's going to write some fucking blog later that day. I'm going to be like, no, I'm like your biggest fan. I'm shitting my pants right now.
So another from the gallery was from Easton, who said, do you guys get nerves before interviewing a big celebrity on the podcast, just like first tee jitters? And my answer was going to be, yeah, every single time. I mean, every single time we have somebody on the podcast, or especially when we're at one of these major championships, just hanging around the range, like it almost feels like we're an unwelcome distraction and we just don't want to be seen, even though it's our job to be seen. And it's very cool when guys come up to us and make us feel more comfortable, because I think we all have that nervous energy. Like, I think every single one of us has that. And if you don't, like Frankie said, it would almost be like, when Tiger talks about, like, he answers questions all the time, like, do you get nervous out there? And he's like, yeah, if I didn't get nervous out here, I wouldn't keep playing. Like, that means you care. That means it's something to you. So, yeah, I think we get nervous as fuck all the time.
Our editor-in-chief, Coley Mick, shout out Coley Mick, one of the best people on this planet, but he sent an email out today about just, like, the voice of the blog and Barstool Sports in general, and how, like, if you're not being authentic in who you are, either on the blog or in videos, like, that's why people are coming to Barstool to watch our stuff. There's a million different outlets on just keeping it calm, cool, collected, and asking them the X's and O's. That's not what we do. What we do is we go to Australia and we make waves because all we did was fist bump Tiger Woods, because no one else in our vicinity would even think to do that with those types of passes, right? Like, he made a reference to, like, Frankie Borelli's not talking about what happened in the second period of the Islander game. He's hugging his dad and screaming and becoming a lunatic, and that's why people are latching on to it, as opposed to the ESPN writer that's been writing about the Islanders for the last 35 years.
Who writes about the Islanders for ESPN? You don't know.
Right. It's just like, but that's the point, is like I think we always owe it to our fans and our readers and our viewers to always be who we are, and like kind of who they would be if we just handed them our pass. Like when I was with my boys at the Barclays at Bethpage, when it was there before I was even on the podcast, it was like, this was years ago, before I was even at Barstool, it was like, holy shit, Tiger Woods' shot is right in front of us. Like, look, we're hitting each other and we're shaking. We have our phones out, and legitimately, I remember I didn't even get a chance to hit the video. I hit photo at a beginning and an ending because I was going to puke. And I never want to lose that because then we'll never be who we are. Like, there's a bunch of people in our fucking field that have other podcasts that act like, we're the fucking voice of this, and like, this is where you should get your golf analysis. Like, golf analysis bullshit. We're going to talk about the shit that we talk about because that's just who we are.
Dude, the video of us meeting Tiger at Pebble was big for a gazillion reasons, but the number one reason was our reactions to it. Because we were just, Frankie didn't say a word. I couldn't answer a regular question. Riggs was as calm, cool, and collected as the three of us, but still was fucking nervous as hell. Like, that's what people want because that's how other people would react if they had our type of access. And that's really all that it is.
Yeah, and look, that video, I love it. It was really cool. It's got millions and millions of views. If that was just Mike Tirico having the exact same conversation with Tiger, I don't know that it would have like more than 9,000 views or any view because
what
it
did
wouldn't
he
matter.
say?
But he didn't say anything.
Right.
Like, he just said he was going to go watch basketball. Like, that was literally what he said.
At one point he turned around and said basketball time, and we're like, all right.
Do you want us to go play basketball?
But again, like, everybody breaking down the film because they see themselves in us, and we don't see ourselves as anything. We don't see ourselves as the voice of this or the voice of that. And like Trent and I, we were doing like a local San Diego news hit, and they're asking us about like us and who we are and what we were doing there. And both of us were sort of afterwards like, I don't know.
Yeah. I literally said to you, I don't think they're going to use any part of mine because I didn't say anything because I don't know what I am. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. And if that's interesting, then so be it. But like, I'm not going to break down everything. Like, I'm just going to exist at this golf tournament as a fan. And clearly there is a market for that.
The only people that are going to get mad at us for being fans are the Jeff Shacklefords of the world and the guys named Todd on Twitter who are angry at the world that they're still fucking like selling shoes like in the fucking South or something, and they should be in our position and they should be on the golf course. You're going to get a couple haters here and there for being fanboys with our access, but that is who we are. I'll never stop being a gig. So this is going to all go back to Lurch's original point. I will never stop the nervous, giggly energy around Rory McIlroy. And if that makes us never get Rory, then you know what? We're never going to get Rory because I'm never changing. I'll be 50 years old and I'll still be shaking. Act like you've been there before. I hate that. I hate when people say act like you've been there before. Act like I've been where before? In front of Tiger Woods as he walks off the 18th green at the fucking President's Cup in Australia? No, I've never been here before.
Agreed. And I think that there will, like, the day that we change what we're going to say about somebody because now they're not going to come or work with us is like, that's the day we're not who we are.
Yeah,
and that's the day that we're not
we
the reason. Yeah, we pretty much die. Foreplay die. So yeah, I mean, that's just what we're going to be. I can't stay on that response either. When we react to something, we have knee-jerk reactions. It gets put into a social clip. Shout out Jake Bass. Usually, like, the one thing we don't want it to be a social clip gets put into a social clip.
Unbelievable.
But it goes out, and then a lot of the reactions like, well, say goodbye to ever working with this guy. And it's like, okay, well, just fucking then, like, if we don't say that, then say goodbye to us. Like, we're just never doing what we do because otherwise we're just exactly like everyone else. So, yeah, the answer pretty much all week when we were asked, like, oh, what are you guys trying to get done out here this week? We're like, I don't know. Really, yeah. I'm just kind of here. I have a pass. I'm observing everything, and we'll just see what happens. That's pretty much our game plan, and usually pretty cool stuff happens, and we're trying to showcase what it's like to be in there, but we don't have much of a game plan, and, yeah, we're nervous as shit the whole time.
When we were at the PGA, and I was with Trent, I think I said to people that they were probably really important people. They're like, whoa, what's your guys' plan? And I was like, we're just going to try and be around people and get it on video. I was like, people really like that. They really like that shit.
It's true.
Like that's what everyone does at sports.
I mean, that's the plan.
Like
That's
you
literally the
run down
101.
when you're a kid, and you're at a baseball game, you try and sneak down to the lower bowl, and you try and get close to the dugout, or like before the game at a hockey game, you go down to you try and get around the people. That's like what you just want to do. You want to be around.
But you know
people and
what?
get it
You
on.
know what the mind fuck is? The mind fuck for old man media is that they get less when the guy is standing in front of a USGA background and there's a microphone in front of his face. They get way less than we get just standing around and interacting and talking to these guys, and we have one of our guys holding a phone. The guys are way more normal. They give way more cool and relaxed answers, because when you have them up against the screen and a microphone in front of their face, they're just like, oh, yeah, I'm going to try to play well and, just hoping for a good week. We're grinding, taking it day by day. And it's like, wah! But when we talk to them about anything we want.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, we had another just kind of tough Tommy Fleetwood run in, where and it was, everyone did what they're supposed to be doing, but he was walking by us and somebody said like, good luck, Tommy, and he just kind of looked over to give a very token like thank you, and then he noticed us and was like, oh boys, and came walking over, and we were like, what's up? And he was like, how's that bunker game doing? Because like we had done the bunker, video with him. And he like shook my hand, shook Trent's hand. And then he looked at Jake Bass to shake his hand. And Jake Bass was just like this with the phone right in his face. And he was immediately like, oh God, like this is not at all what I wanted. And kind of like awkwardly shook Jake Bass's hand. Jake like didn't really know what to do with the phone. And Tommy literally continued to talk to us while being like this.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I hope that's going great.
That is an exact depiction of what happened. He did he started like still giving you answers, but clearly moving in a completely different direction. And it was just like, that's going to happen sometimes. But like you said, Riggs, everyone was doing their jobs. Jake Bass was doing the right thing. It was Tommy just didn't want to be on camera in that moment, which is fine.
Tommy Fleetwood comes over and is like, "Where's that like dinky little piece of shit Frankie or something that like is."
That's
in
like
our
what Matty
world.
Fitz does.
You gotta get it on video, so you
have to capture it.
You have to capture it. We need to come up with maybe those little glasses that came out from Google. We just gotta like just film at all times.
That feels
Is that
illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I feel like they got to know they're on film, because I said to him like, Triangle of Love or something like that earlier on, and then I had to leave, I think. But like, if we're not telling people that we're filming, that's not a path we should go down.
Another thing that we didn't get, because he snuck up on us and chirped me about Kevin Kisner's the drive I hit, was Bubba Watson. Bubba Watson came up behind me and just like tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around when nobody knew what was happening, and he started giving me shit about Kiz's driver and how he would not let me hit his driver because he didn't want a dummy mark on it.
No way.
Yes.
Dude, it was crazy. Like we were like, who's this guy bothering us right now? We looked at him, it was just Bubba Watson was chirping Trent, was like, yo, that's why I'll never let you touch my driver. I saw what happened with kids or something. We didn't have any cameras anywhere. Nobody even knew he was there. And then
where
he just
was
kinda
this? Like what? Like
it was like right next to the range.
Jesus.
It was like this awkward. It wasn't even awkward. It was hilarious, but we just didn't capture it. Like he was just.
That's amazing.
He just walked away. So that's why Jake had to. He's got to be doing what he's doing, but yeah, a little. That's how the sausage is made. Is like we just don't really know what we're doing, and we're trying to capture stuff with cell phones. That's pretty much it. Speaking of sausage, if you're using your sausage, you put this puppy on there. Yeah, Roman swipes. Okay, we're talking about when you use your sausage, you have a little sexual intercourse. Very cool. Drives a lot of really humanity, if we're being honest with each other.
Drives a lot of birthdays.
True.
Yeah, true. You can't have birthday without sexual interaction. It's just not possible unless you went down a whole religious rabbit hole, which we're not going to go down. But
or a petri
Roman
dish.
Swipes. Yeah, which again is
right.
It's a lot to handle.
Yeah.
If you got a lot to handle and you don't want to handle it too quickly, Roman swipes. Okay, this is the secret to longer lasting sex. They're a clinically proven way to last longer in bed. Roman swipes are effective, easy to use, fast acting, do not require a prescription. Roman can ship swipes to you in discreet, unmarked packaging, and each swipes packet small enough to hide in your wallet for whenever you need it. They're super easy to use. You take them out of the packet, swipe them on, let them dry, and you're good to go. You can just have sex forever. You'll be a sex superstar. It's very cool. Go to GetRoman.com/Fore. You get your first month of swipes for just $5 when you choose a monthly plan. That is GetRoman.com/Fore. Olympics. So a bunch of people were dropping out, withdrawing from the Olympics. Louis Oosthuizen, Sergio Garcia, Tyrrell Hatton, all announced within the last 12 hours. Again, we're recording the show on Tuesday, that they're not going to play in the Olympics. Makes sense. The more I think about it, I don't even. Yeah, it just makes a lot of sense. DJ's not going to play. Hatton's not going to play. Oosthuizen's not going to play. Matthew Fitzpatrick's not going to play. Lee Westwood, Adam Scott, and Sergio Garcia are all names that have announced that they are not going to play. Rory will play, but I guess I was thinking about, oh my God, it's the Olympics, right? It's the Olympics, and the rings, and it's so cool. You get a medal, you play for your country, it's the best. But really, if a lot of the big names aren't playing, how many people have to not play for the winning the Olympic gold medal to just not be considered that impressive?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see both sides of it, where it is a huge honor. It's the Olympics. You hear about the Olympics growing up. You watch them. It's a huge deal, playing for your country. But, yeah, it's also a big commitment. It's a big commitment. It's a lot to do. It's something that you maybe weren't planning on doing, and then you kind of got to make a decision on whether or not you want to do it, and it might throw off all the things that you were maybe going to do. I'm fine with the guys that it's more than okay if you play. That's great. You want to play for your country. But if you don't want to play, I'm not going to, criticize you for not wanting to play in the Olympics. That's kind of where I fall.
I'm not going to criticize you, but I'm kind of surprised. Whenever we talk to these guys about what's their greatest moments in golf, it seems to be 90% or more say, oh, when I played the team event, whether it's the President's Cup or the Ryder Cup. So I always think that, playing for a team, for a country always means just more to these guys. So I'd think that it would prioritize a little bit higher than what we're seeing. But yeah, it is a big commitment, obviously, especially in times like this now. So but yeah, just a little surprising to me. I just thought it'd be that once in a lifetime type of play for your country.
Yeah, play for your country is big, and I'm sure that's the number one factor that guys think about the most when making the decision. But ultimately, it seems like a lot of guys are just saying, I'd rather just stay to my regular schedule. What I was going to do, I'm just not going to play in the Olympics, which is fine.
Yeah, it might be just because that childhood dream of the Olympics wasn't there for them. Where the Ryder Cup, President's Cups was. But I would love to see them do it selfishly, obviously, from a viewer standpoint, but then also to build that history within the Olympics for golf. So it's a tough one. I wish that they would do it, but obviously, you can't force them to it. And whoever does win it obviously takes home an Olympic gold, which is monumental.
It's just a huge miss that they don't have a team aspect to it.
Right.
It's just an individual competition. You just have a flag next to your name, which is cool, but the Ryder Cup, and Sergio basically said in his statement, he's like, my goal is the Ryder Cup. He's like, I want to qualify for the Ryder Cup team. That is my goal. And I cannot focus on my European Tour kind of point standings, my FedEx Cup point standings, and the Ryder Cup, and go all the way across the country or across the world to the Olympics. I just can't do all of that. So I have to prioritize. The Ryder Cup means more to me than the Olympics. And I guess, what I was thinking about was, if you're a swimmer, right? All of the best swimmers in the world are at the Olympics trying to win the gold medal. That is the biggest thing that you can win. If you are a runner, all of the best runners, sprinters, in the world are there, and they're trying to win the gold medal. That's the biggest thing they can win. In golf, not all the best players in the world are there. This is not the biggest thing in golf that you can win. So for them, it starts to lose its luster. It's almost like people, each person that pulls out, it actually makes the golf Olympic competition, I think, less meaningful to every other person, because we talk all the time about the field and how tough the field was and the difficulty. And if you just beat not that hard of a field, how meaningful is that gold medal now? It's almost like you just you're just there for the rings, but you didn't really win. So it just gets a little bit tricky for them. And the fact that it's in Tokyo, it's all the way across the world. I'm with Trent. I just think, it makes a lot of sense that guys aren't going to play. It stinks because it'd be cool, but I think it's just kind of a miss that there's not a team, more of a compelling team aspect to it, because I think that would drive guys to want to play. I think in the Walker Cup and in the Ryder Cup, they talk about the playing for their country and how important that is. It is, but it's almost like playing for your teammates is is the biggest driver. It's like you don't want to let that guy down next to you. You don't want to let your captain down. Whereas in this, you're just competing as an individual that maybe could win it for your country at the end. But when they're out there, it's like them and their caddy, like it always is.
Gold medal would be sick, though.
Would be sick.
I guess
it falls more on just the people that have set it up, and it should just be better. Like if there was no Ryder, it just should be better. If there was no Ryder Cup, these guys,
those people.
If there was no Ryder Cup, they'd all just be flying to Tokyo, right? Like that's a given fact. If the Ryder Cup didn't.
No, like Louis Oosthuizen, like he doesn't play in the Ryder Cup. He's not playing.
Yeah, true. But you'd get big fucking names if there was no Ryder Cup like this year.
I think so. I think you'd get bigger names for sure. I think you'd get DJ. I think you'd get like Fitzpatrick. I think you'd get Westwood, and like I think you would probably get these guys.
Yeah,
but
it's got to be better.
Instead, you're just not going to. Yeah, I think it just needs to be better. All right. From the gallery, we got a few good from the galleries that we're going to get to. Matt says, who will be the best player in golf over the next 5 years? I listed just the current top 10, which is on everybody's list, but it goes Jon Rahm, Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Xander Schauffele, Bryson DeChambeau, Patrick Cantlay, Brooks Koepka, Patrick Reed, and Rory McIlroy. Those are your top 10 in the world right now. I imagine almost everybody's going to say Jon Rahm at this point.
I'm going to say Colin Morikawa.
I was going to say Morikawa.
Wow. Really?
You know, 5 years.
He did a whole show about how he can't putt. He has like the yips putting.
5 years
he's so fucking young.
5 years is a really interesting number, though. That kind of puts you in a box. That makes me like if you had said they're both so young. But if you had said 10 years, I'm definitely saying Colin Morikawa. Even though Jon Rahm's only 26 and Morikawa's 24, I just think like Colin has the longevity and he's just going to have it for longer. But 5 years makes it interesting. I still would like to say Colin Morikawa, but you're probably going to be right if you say Jon Rahm.
It's tricky.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, look, those names are hard. It's not crazy to think that like Rory McIlroy could just catch fire again for the next 2, 3, 4 years and absolutely dominate. But I mean, he's a little bit older now. Like he's not old, but he's in his low 30s. Like DJ's in his high 30s, and you start to look at this, and I mean, I guess Morikawa I could understand if you really factored in complacency that we've seen in guys, right? Like getting super rich now and making a ton of money, and how that just makes you more complacent in life. It would actually be psychotic if it didn't. And like Morikawa is going to have more of these next 5 years where he's going to, by that measure, probably be a little bit hungrier throughout the whole thing because he's young. He hasn't quite gotten to that level yet. He hasn't but he is already a major champion. He's already won a bunch of times on tour. But I mean, it's probably recency bias, but I think I got to go with Jon Rahm. He's the number 1 ranked player in the world. He seems to have insane fire. Like his fist bumps at the end there were a guy that's just a machine that wants to keep winning. So yeah, I'm gonna go out on the shortest limb on the planet, and I'm gonna say Jon Rahm.
You know who might honestly be the best bet outside of I would even include all the guys in the list that we put is Justin Thomas.
Right, that's my mind went right to JT. I was like, he's gonna be the best player.
He's 28
for the next 5 years. And then the other person actually was Sungjae Im. I think he is phenomenal. But again, we're splitting hairs. We have no idea. Again, we're a golf podcast. We don't know anything about the golf swing. But if I was going to go on just a guess, it'd be JT or him.
Sungjae Im, wow. Stunning.
Stunning. You don't like that pick there, Frank?
It's a stunning top 5 player for the next 5 years. A top player for the next 5 years. The Sungjae Im he's going to dominate the tour.
Sungjae Im will be. So yeah, what's the question then? Who's going to hold the number 1 ranking for the most time over the next 5 years?
Who's going to be the best?
Or in 5 years, who is the best player?
Who will be the best player in golf over the next 5 years?
Over the next 5 years. Who will reign supreme over the PGA Tour?
JT,
you say Sungjae Im.
No. JT will reign supreme. He'll dominate the next 5 years of golf. He'll be considered the best player. In 5 years, Sungjae Im will be the best player in the world.
Also incorrect, but sure.
I think you're wrong on both fronts. I think you have to be wrong on both.
And that's it is disrespect to Sungjae Im, but also just like there's a ton of really good guys who are just proving themselves to be better than Sungjae Im right now.
There's also kids out there that are 18 that we don't even really know about that are
even more to our point.
Well, I mean, no, because I'm saying one person, you just selected somebody as well. So like you're wrong
like
too.
I'm picking the guys that are just better than him right now to just continue to be better than him, and then you can even factor in people that we don't even know yet that could just be better than him, and your percentages go way down as we continue to talk. We do have to put respect on Jon Rahm's name at some point. I do, at least. Like I have to. The guy just delivers, and it's hard to not pick that guy. I've been betting against him on the Barstool Sports book almost every single major, and he just shoves it up my hoop.
Is the reason we're not talking about Bryson at all because we don't think it'll last?
Oh, Bryson, yeah, he's a fad.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
He's a fad, man.
I think he's too. I think he's too much of a roller coaster. Like he's always chasing stuff, right? Like
Sure.
Bryson will never get to a point where he's like, okay, I've achieved this level of game, and I'm just going to dominate with this game. He's always going crazy. And when you're changing shit constantly, you're going through it now, Trent. Like, he's just going to be too inconsistent, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. He
lacks what all the greats have, and it's that consistency of just showing up, being the same person, and just dominating, right? Like, he doesn't have that aspect in him at all. The Tiger Woods, I'm going to show up with my game, and it's going to be good enough to beat you every single day of the week. Bryson DeChambeau does not have that. He does interviews walking from the range to the putting green about how the only reason why he's going to do good tomorrow is because he had some sort of dream about some sort of feeling, about some sort of like whatever. It's just that's not a winner mentality. I know he's won. He won the U.S. Open last year. There's just he cannot be consistent. And I'd be, you know what? Prove me wrong, Bryson. That's fine. I'm sure that you'll write on our Instagram story or something that you're pissed that we're talking bad about you. But it's the truth. You just don't have this. You don't have the consistency to do it. You've proven it. He's proven it.
Right. He's trying to make.
We're allowed to have those thoughts about it. That's fine.
He's trying to take the inconsistency out of golf, and in that way, he becomes less consistent because he's just trying to get a handle on something that is seemingly impossible to get a handle on.
My favorite is when he does those interviews and he says something that's so complex, and he's like, "That's the only thing we have to work on tomorrow." Like he'll be like, "Oh, we just like." The face angle was just a degree off, and that's something that we'll correct tomorrow. As if it's as easy as that. As if it's as easy as, oh, we now have identified what is wrong, and we will correct it tomorrow. Like, he said that on Saturday. Sunday, the guy shot like a 46 on the back nine at the U.S. Open. So, I mean, it's not that easy, Bryson. It's not in a fucking book. It's not. You can't just say a number or a degree and be like, well, now we're going to fix it tomorrow. All is good.
I agree. It is preposterous, and that's I think the reason that none of us think he's going to be the best over the next 5 years. I think he'll probably win another major or two, but I don't know that he'll be the best over the next 5 years. Brooks Koepka, we got to give a shout out to him, by the way. His last 15 major championships. I know we've talked a lot about everybody's highlighted that he just shows up for the majors. Yeah, he did win the Waste Management this year, so he's won some other tournaments, but his ability to just show up in majors is fucking psychotic. Like his last 15 majors, okay? I'm going to go backwards from the U.S. Open that finished this week. He finished tied for 4th, tied for 2nd, cut, tied for 29th, tied for 7th, tied for 4th, 2nd, 1st, tied for 2nd, 1st, tied for 39th, 1st, tied for 13th, tied for 6th, 1st.
Jesus, dude. What is
That's
that?
His last
what is that?
majors.
What makes him... I don't know if it's an answerable question. What makes him that good in majors?
It's amazing, man.
I think it's his mental capacity.
Has to be.
He's just like, he has such an insane belief in himself where I think that's honestly his biggest competitive advantage. And some of those, he was like considerably hurt. He's been on a hell of a run and where somehow he drives it straight, hits greens in regulation, and putts well. You know, it's just like he does what makes golf easy.
Remember when we interviewed him on this show? He broke it down very like succinctly where at the end of it, he was like, I just cut out. He was like 50% of the field just can't win. And then another 20 of those guys don't have the mental or the confidence that I have. And at the end of it, there were like 15 guys that he had to beat in his head at majors. And I think that's a big part of it. It has to be.
Yeah, I think so too. And you know, that's also, I think we've learned in the times gone on since that interview. They're like, that's just kind of a little bit of Brooks Koepka and how he talks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that that's true. And even like Kiz has kind of talked about that a little bit from a totally different angle. But, I remember telling him a couple of years ago, like, dude, you've been playing well at Augusta. You were like, you finished like, 21st or something last year. And he was like, Riggs, there's like 30 guys in the field. And he was like, that's pathetic. Like, if you don't finish top 15, you're horrible that week. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, 15 of them are like 80. And he's like, and then there's another 5 or 10 that are like amateurs. And then there's like 15, 20 guys that have no chance in majors. That's like that 50% that Brooks said has no chance. And he's like, now you're down to like 30 guys. So, okay, I beat like 10 guys. It's great. I think that is, thought about by more people than just Brooks Koepka, but still, like, on the biggest stage where it matters the most, and golf is a game where, like, when you're nervous and it means a lot, it's the hardest to kind of perform, and it's a static sport. You're standing there. Like, his ability to constantly perform really, really well in majors and just show up on the leaderboard, it's fucking amazing. Like, we don't see that. It's amazing.
It is amazing. It's preposterous what he's been able to accomplish, and it's got to be his mental approach to them. I wanted to not believe it when he said it. I thought it was a very cocky thing, but he clearly just gets ready for majors more than other tournaments. It's very evident.
I think so too. I think that's probably a big part of it, which is weird that he doesn't just focus on every tournament. But I guess, like, you kind of prioritize and pick your life and do what you want. And he's doing really well in major championships, so he's just going to be a name now. I think you have to bet him. And it remains like somebody messaged us and was like, is Dustin Johnson a top 10 or 15 like player of all time? And he has like 20 something wins, and he's won like every year over the last like 15 seasons, whatever the hell those stats are. But he's only got like 2 majors. And I was like, well, I mean, you only won 2 majors. Like, that doesn't, I don't know, like that doesn't really get you in that top. And then I was just thinking, like, dude, Brooks Koepka has 4 fucking majors. 4? That's crazy. Ridiculous. That is, he's got the same amount of majors as Rory McIlroy. And we all looked at Rory 7 years ago like he was going to be a top 5 player in the history of the game. And Brooks Koepka has the same amount of majors as he does. It just doesn't make any sense.
And those majors happened like that. They just happened. Like, he had none, and then he had 4 in a very, very short amount of time.
Very short.
And since then, he's got a few second-place finishes. He's got a 4th. He's got a 7th. He's got a 4th. Like, he's just been right there all the time. So, clearly, you got to think he's going to win a lot more. So, I don't know if that necessarily means I think he's going to be the most dominant player over the next 5 years because he doesn't care about other tournaments, apparently. But I just had to give a shout-out to that because I was looking at those numbers. And they're amazing. This is also amazing, Truly Hard Seltzer. I got this is the Tropical Punch right here, which is, I mean, that can's pretty sexy. But Truly, clearly, obviously, came on as the title sponsor for the Barstool Classic a few years ago. They've kind of taken the golf world by storm as people are realizing that it's actually nice to have a very refreshing, delicious beverage on the golf course that's got 16 different flavors and adds to your experience instead of just shoving the same crap down your throat. You got a lot of different options. You got a lot of different variety. And I like I like things that taste nice and a little bit fruity. I just enjoy those things.
Nothing wrong with that. I got a bunch of fruit punch. Yeah, I got a bunch of fruit punch Trulies at my apartment that are delicious.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, especially in the summer, I think people are, it's very soft of them to be like, oh, you're going to drink a fruity drink? Is that going to come with a cherry on it? It's like, you're goddamn right it's going to come with a cherry on it. Might ask for 2. Might ask for 2.
I used to rip down Shirley Temples when I was a kid. I had no problem jumping into that area of drink.
I got the Shirley Temple King coming to Borelli's tomorrow. We're this little kid, he's called the Shirley Temple King.
Oh, you have that guy? Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, we did a pizza review with him back in the day. Right. He's coming to Borelli's. And we're like scrambling to find good cherries now. My dad's like, my dad's so busy. He's like, I gotta worry about the Shirley Temple King coming now. I gotta get freaking the right grenadine. We're like stressing about the Shirley Temple King Leo to come. But yeah, nothing wrong with a little fruity drink in the summer. I love Trulies. I got a stack of them in my room right now. Whenever I go on the golf course, pack the cooler, go right to the course. It's no problem.
Whether you're out on the course, whether you're at a bar, whether you're on a beach, or you might maybe just relaxing at home, you go home from work. Open up that fridge, grab yourself a Truly, watch the game. They're delicious, so big thanks to Truly Hard Seltzer. Bryce says, if you're standing on the 16th tee at Torrey Pines for the U.S. Open with a 4-shot lead and everyone else is in the clubhouse, do you think you could close it out?
4-shot lead, 16th tee.
So you got the par 3 that was like 225, and then you've got 17, which is where Louis hit it into the shit, and then 18 is obviously about a 570-yard.
Not even close.
Nope. Lose it on 17.
I mean, we did it. Just count our strokes up. Like, whatever we made, that's what it was. And, like, none of us would have made it. Because 18
without
was a disaster, 17 was a disaster, and 16 was a disaster for most.
I want to say I think I went bogey, double, which would mean I would have been tied and going to a playoff against one of the better players in the world.
And that's a zero pressure.
But that's a 4-stroke lead on 16. Everybody's making birdie on 18, like you lose.
No, everyone else in the clubhouse.
Oh, everybody else in the clubhouse.
You got to read the things, Lurch.
Well, how do I read them if you don't share them? You just read them to us now.
I emailed them.
They're in the email.
Oh, I haven't seen the email.
It's the one next to the Axon one.
This should be good.
Are you?
No, it's a different inbox. That's a different inbox.
Okay, got you.
I mean,
Anyways.
I'm a no, obviously, but yeah, no, that's tough. That'd be tough.
I'm trying to look. I'm gonna try to skim through the YouTube video now to see like what I even shot.
Look, I think obviously the odds are no, but I think that like one in something I could actually do it. Like 1 in 3 or 4 times, you just got a bogey. Like you got a bogey 16. I think like if I knew standing on that tee, all right, you have a 4-shot lead. I don't think it's crazy that I could find a way to make a 4 on 16, like just hit it up short, chip 1, leave yourself an uphill putt. 17, like just spray it way right, hit one up there short, hit a wedge in the middle of the green, 2-putt. Like clearly those things are not as easy as I'm saying. Like you could just blade a wedge over the green and the whole tournament's over. But I don't think it's that crazy because that's kind of how I played the course the whole time and shot like 89 or whatever. It was just like purposely bogeyed every hole. So I don't think it's that crazy. But yeah, obviously with all the pressure you're standing on the 16th of the US Open, I would fail way more often than I would do it, but I don't think it's crazy that I could do it.
Skimming through our YouTube video, one thing that we have to add, I just did it as a viewer. We have to add our scorecard at the end, even if it's digital, because like I think that'd be a cool thing for people to be able to skip to the end and see exactly what we shot on that hole.
Definitely.
Yeah, needs to be added.
Definitely.
A little peek behind the curtain there for the editing team.
That was just you just said publicly on a podcast something that was meant for 2 people.
Yes.
Which I think is.
Oh yeah, I literally just I was like, oh, I'd like to see like the final score there. But then they could argue that you have to watch the video to see it. But I think once you see the video, you then should be rewarded with a scorecard.
Agreed.
Cool.
Very much agreed.
I don't think I do it. I think I crumble like the crumbler I am.
I think that's right.
Okay. I wonder what this next guest would, how he would address you as you crumbled, what he would say to you, how he would get you to crumble, how he would mentally break you down. Being just honest. I mean, he's just trying to get to the truth. He's not trying to break you down on anything that's not truthful. But I think that he would break all of us down.
I'm looking forward to talking to this man. We have a day before we interview him. I want to think of some interesting things to ask him because I really like to get his take on the world, not just the restaurants, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
The world's very different since the last time we talked to him.
Very different. I'm actually interested.
Go ahead.
Well, he was coming up with that like humanless kitchen in Atlanta when we were talking to him, where it was like a whole thing. It was all these robots pushing out food, and it was like a germ-free kitchen. So I wonder how that's going, and if he thinks that the world is back. Because remember, he was pretty. It wasn't like dark and gloomy, but he was like, it's gonna take a while before people like accept going to restaurants again, which I agree with. But I think we've seen more positivity than we were expecting from the world. So we'll see. Maybe he's in a really good spot mentally.
Yeah, I feel like he had a little bit of like there's going to be a massive explosion of people going out and the world like reopening again. So now that
I just don't know that it happened that fast. Although it was a while ago that we talked to him. We talked to him pretty deep.
When did we have him on? Like last fall or something?
But I do, if I could be recalling this incorrectly, but I do think he talked about how we were going to see like maybe 50% of restaurants and bars going away before we see what we're seeing now, where people are excited to get out and go back to restaurants.
I think we may not be as knowledgeable in it, but like I think a really high percentage of places closed down. You go down New York City and there are still fucking boarded up restaurants all down these streets. So I'm sure he has all the numbers. He's got all the numbers. He always has all the numbers.
I'm hearing November 18th. So 8 months ago?
Okay, so a lot's happened since then.
7 months ago?
World's changed dramatically. Like the vaccine didn't even exist back then.
Nope.
All right. Well, next up, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Jon Taffer.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hey, John. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Great.
Doing great. What's up with you?
Not much. You guys don't look any older.
Oh,
good.
No.
I appreciate that.
It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Always an honor.
Thanks, guys. It's been a good year for golf, I think. What do you think?
Golf's been crazy good the last like year and a half. I mean, you hate to say it, but the pandemic's been great for golf. It's just been kind of one of the few things that people have been able to do the whole time.
Yeah, and I have friends that run several courses, and they were telling me how new golfers is a pretty big, good trend right now. It's the new people getting into golf, which is great to see.
It is. I know a lot of those places are trying to figure out how to keep them. You got to like make sure that once everything returns a little bit more to normal, like how do you hold them?
Yeah. It's funny. I went and I played golf at Wynn here in Las Vegas 8-10 months ago during the pandemic, and it was remarkable the amount of people involved in getting me to the green. They had somebody who actually lifted the flag out of the, because you can't touch the flags, you can't touch anything. And it was unbelievable the amount of people around us to keep the experience safe, but they were sold out. And they were the whole time. So anyway, it's good to see, guys. When you look at golf, you're pretty young in that space. And so much of golf is seniors. And it's caused an erosion of the game. But it's nice to see, your generation really getting excited about golf again.
I appreciate that. I agree. And it's tough, too, because a lot of the outlets, a lot of the places you go to get kind of content or people talking about golf are older. So if you're in your 20s or 30s and you're trying to really get into the game and you're like, well, am I supposed to be in this? Because everybody's, 50, 60, or whatever it is, and you feel uncomfortable and you're not sure that's your crowd. So I think like that's fortunately worked in our favor, which is it wasn't like a calculation. We just kind of got lucky with that. So
guys, you're the hippest show in golf.
We'll take that. We're very excited.
Feels pretty good.
So look, you've done 7 seasons of Bar Rescue, now 8. The 8th season's out. It's different, I was watching, and it's obviously COVID has changed everything so dramatically. Talk a little bit about, like the differences and sort of what you kind of uncovered, I guess, in season 8 and how the world's changed, the restaurant industry's changed.
Yeah, what was really heavy was that, for this past couple of years, we've all talked about how the industry was impacted by COVID and stuff, but we never really talked about how people were. And this season of Bar Rescue was really heavy for me, guys, because I saw how these people were impacted. For example, our 200th episode, I think it aired 2 weeks ago, family lost their house 3 days before I got there. And imagine this, Frankie, they lost their house 3 days before to get there. 3 kids under 12 or so are sleeping on a wooden floor above the restaurant. So, devastating. And then other stories of employees losing their cars, losing their homes, moving in with each other, carpooling together, and people just sort of banding together to try to get through it. There was another owner who lost his house, ran up all his credit cards to keep his employees getting paid. They never missed a paycheck. And then when he opened at 25% capacity, they robbed him. They stole from him. So they were so desperate that they still had to take. So it's changed people, I think. It's caused people that were honest to maybe push the line a little bit just so they could pay their rent. It's caused people to come through for each other, I think. But I think the one thing that I learned out of this more than anything, and I bet you guys agree with me on this whole COVID experience has taught us how much we need each other, man. How much our friends mean to us, how much time, even on a golf course, means to us with friends. We miss that stuff. How much each of our safety means to us. You guys have a responsibility today. We all do. If I'm sick, I shouldn't go out and get other people sick. So we've learned so much about our responsibilities to each other and how much we all mean to each other this year. I think that's, dare I say, the good part of this.
Right. It's definitely brought people and families closer together. Maybe you haven't seen someone in a long time, and you just don't take things for granted like we used to, right? Like seeing something as simple as seeing a family member that you used to just, act like, oh, I'll just see them at a birthday or whatever. That birthday didn't come because you weren't allowed to leave the house, or that event that you had scheduled, that wedding had to get postponed. And when you finally do see them, it puts things in perspective for sure. So there definitely were positives and negatives coming out of this. But I was reading what happened in that 200th episode. It really just moved me because, I experienced a little bit of that with my own family restaurant, and, just for months and months and months, just complete nothingness. And it sucks for these people because they didn't do anything wrong. The restaurant was doing well. They were doing everything they had to do. And all of a sudden, an outside force tells them, no, you can't have people inside. So it is a sad thing, but it's great to see, people like you getting people back on their feet and promoting it and helping out.
Yeah. I think the other big lesson, guys, is local politics. How all these decisions that hurt these businesses and stuff were primarily made by local politicians. And, we all think the national guys are so important to us. We learned that local elections mean a lot this year. And totally. I think we're going to look at that stuff a little differently next time around.
Especially because we travel a lot for work, so we're in different counties. I know you do too. We're in different counties, different states every week. And, everything's different. Everybody's approach is different. Every store you go into is different. The employees are wearing masks. Everybody's wearing a mask. You drive, 5 miles over to a different county. Nobody's wearing masks. Everybody's different. So you're right in that. I think people just take that stuff for granted that, not to get too deep, but founding fathers, everybody literally went to war. So we had the rights to be able to choose who makes those decisions. And I think that we take a lot of things for granted. And I think that's one of them for sure.
Yeah. They asked me to do a PSA commercial. My network did the other day, and for the vaccine, which I'm all fine doing. And they asked me to pull up my sleeve, put a Band-Aid on my arm, and say that I got the vaccine for, and to give a reason. Right? Well, in my case, I got the vaccine selfishly because I didn't want to be sick, obviously. But I got the vaccine for my family too, and I got the vaccine for the people I work with too. And it's interesting, this is a bigger decision than just us. I think is the point that I want to make.
Yeah. So we all.
I want you guys to ask me my greatest golf experience, my greatest golf story, if you will, my greatest golf moment.
All right.
You got to ask me, and then I'll tell you.
This has to be good. So please give me your greatest golf experience, please.
My greatest two moments in the golf course. The first is negative. I used to run a hotel in upstate New York called Grossinger's, and we had 3 9-hole golf courses. And the G was a famous course of ours, and we had the New York State Open there. It was a great golf course. And the golf pro lived on the other side of the property, and I would take a golf cart to his house at night. And one night we drank a whole bottle of Johnny Walker together. And on the way home from his house, I had to drive through the golf course to get to my house. And it was dark and it was raining. I couldn't see, and I drove the cart right into the lake. And that was my worst golf story, and I was created about that. But probably my greatest overall golf experience is the week I got to spend with John Daly when he shot bar rescue with me years ago. And I got to tell you, hanging out with John for 4 to 5 days was something else, man. And I still, on my bar, I still have a bottle of John Daly signed by him. And I always found it interesting that Arnold Palmer's drink is lemonade, of course, lemonade and iced tea mixed, right? Yeah. John Daly's drink is Arnold Palmer's drink with vodka, which defines John perfectly. But guys, it was an incredible experience to hang out with him for a week. And, to me, he is one of the shining lights in golf from an entertainment standpoint and a personality.
Were you able to keep up with him or what? Because he once he's going, he's gone.
Yeah, he's unbelievable, but he's a really dynamic. I mean, he's funny, he's articulate, but when he sits down in a bar to drink, it's serious business for him. He's messing around.
It seems like he can play. It's almost like he needs it to get better, right? Like I've seen videos of him and he's ripping drinks. He's got the vodka next to him. He's got everything, and he's continuously just playing great golf. Like it doesn't affect him at all.
I think that he thinks that, and he said this in roundabout ways, that golf to him is more natural than a skill set. Yeah. And he doesn't want to overanalyze and doesn't want to overdo it. And you see it. He walks up there and he just sort of hits the freaking ball. And I think that he's one of those guys who doesn't overanalyze what he does. He just goes out there and does it. It's great. It's great.
Would you say that your natural ability is more like problem solving or communicating and allowing people to learn how to solve that problem?
You know, that's a really good question, Frank. I think that you know, years ago I started doing public speaking, and now I've given thousands of speeches all over the world over the past 30 years or so. I think probably the greatest asset I have is my ability to communicate with people. But that opens up a lot of doors, though, because I can communicate with you and show a little empathy and compassion when I do, you then open up to me.
Yeah.
Now that you're opening up to me, your problems wind up on the table. And son of a gun, maybe I can help with them. And after 30 years of me talking to people and people opening up to me and their problems hitting the table, then I started getting good at saving the problems, of solving the problems. But it all started with communication skills. And when I do bar rescue, as you know, because you were there, buddy, you know, I don't wear any earpieces. Nobody tells me what to say. You know, none of it is scripted or fake. And, you know, it's great because you saw it. So you Big know time. It firsthand. But I'm good at that because I have strings of words in my head that I've used so often, you know, as a public speaker. And when I give speeches, and I do it all the time, last one I gave was about 3,000 to 4,000 people at an accounting convention. I don't have notes.
Right.
You know, I go out there and I just do it out of my head. So I think communication is the most important thing for all of us in life. You know, if we communicate well as a coach, as a husband, as a wife, as a father, you know, as a buddy, it's a powerful tool.
Yeah, I was going to say that it's amazing because, you know, we were talking about it on the show before we had you on about kind of, you know, your history, your career, how we're all familiar with what you do by watching Paramount, watching the show, but that it's the communication and your ability, you know, like none of it works if you don't have the communication. In order to convince a restaurant owner or a manager that what you're telling them is actually good for them, like you need to be able to communicate, because if you come off the opposite, someone's going to build a wall, right? And they're going to reject what you're saying. And that's true through everything, whether you're a politician or you're a manager or you're a bartender or you're a blogger, no matter what you do, if you can communicate well, you're going to, it matters. It's in relationships, right? Like relationships, people talk about communication all the time. So, so it's interesting, to hear you be sort of self-reflective on that, because it's true. Like your ability to communicate is, it's clearly led to a ton of your success, and it's very inviting, right? Like when somebody communicates well, like you do, it's exciting to talk to you. It's exciting to hear you talk, because when you communicate really well, you could be talking about anything, and somebody's going to be interested.
But it's how we communicate. For example, I'm older than you guys are, you know that. But when I come to New York and go to the Barstool building, I have a fucking blast with you guys when I'm there, right? And we've all seen it. I become much more like you when I'm around you. You know, I'll curse more. I'll be a little, maybe, you know, a little looser, a little different. But then I leave you guys and I go to Fox. And now I'm sitting at the desk, and Portnoy's a little bit this way also, right? Where he'll go crazy on social, and then on Fox, he's Mr. Respectful. So it's interesting. We manipulate how we communicate.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need to communicate in a hipper way. Sometimes I have to communicate in a more sophisticated way. Sometimes in a more intelligent way.
Right.
But the important thing is that if you communicate well, it becomes multi-generational. Because if you communicate really well when you're young, you can establish a lot of credibility with those that are older than you. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're older, if you're really good at communicating, you can still connect with younger people because they're still relatable to you, and you're exposed enough and you understand their words and their phrases and what they do, etc. So I think it is the most important thing that we have in life. And the last thing you want, guys, is to get to be 60 years old and be so uncool that you're unrelatable to anyone who's 25. That sucks.
Right, that's
so
one thing.
It's important that we keep an open mind.
One thing Dave says is one of the things he's most proud of is that he's been able to be like cool for 20 years, right? Multiple decades. So as his original fan base has gotten older, he's been able to still be cool with them and the younger kids now. And I mean, you're experiencing it as well. I mean, 8 seasons of Bar Rescue. I mean, people are legitimately growing up with that. Like, it's something that you're not just appealing to that same people 8 years ago. You have new people now that are watching it, and new age groups and new demographics. So it's pretty impressive, and it's something that. And the only reason I wanted to ask you that is because I know a lot of people that listen to the show. You know, they're young golfers, and we have a pretty young fan base, and a lot of kids are still in school and college. And I always wonder, like, we're lucky enough to not have to deal with any of that stuff. We kind of just fire off the hip, and especially me, I dropped out of college. I wasn't really, I don't have, the communication skills, and I always wonder, like, what is the most important thing for a kid growing up? Like, what should he do? And I look at someone like you, it's like, if you have the communication skills, you can talk about anything and you can get far in life. Like, I bet if we put any topic in front of you, you can convincingly tell us about that topic, even if you're not an expert in it, just because of the way you deliver it. And that's really impressive to me.
So you should have had a list of topics when I come on.
I know,
Next time I come on, guys, give me a list of topics that are freaking bizarre and force me to talk about them. That'd be a funny segment.
Yeah. Well, all right. So talk about we always talk about the solar system and how we're just on a floating planet in space. That always blows our freaking minds. I know our listeners are probably like, here he goes again, Frankie Borrelli with space. But it's something that just blows my freaking mind, man.
Me too, buddy. How about this? Time has no beginning.
There we go. See what I'm saying?
And it has no end. I mean, that's just unfathomable. Space has no boundary. So when you think about no beginning, no end, physically or from a time standpoint, I'm with you, Frankie. It blows my fucking mind.
That may be the one topic that we... Right. I was going to say, I may have picked the one topic that there's no definitive answer, so that was actually a bad one. Shit.
But no, it is, I like the point about how you change the way you communicate based on where you are. I had a buddy in college who's he's from, I believe it was like Mount Jolie, Quebec, and he had a bunch of buddies, and it's very French Canadian, and they came down and visited New York one summer, and we were all in college, and we all went out, and they speak French, and like they speak a little bit of English, but very French. And by like halfway through the weekend, my buddy was laughing that like I was Frenchifying every word that I said, and I was any sentence in French that I knew, I was speaking, and he was dying because by the end of it, he's like everything I said was a little bit of a French like twang and accent, and I was mingling, and that's just who you are.
You're adapting.
You're
adapting. You were communicating as you thought they wanted you to.
Right, exactly. And it wasn't like I wasn't standing there being like, okay, Riggs, speak a little bit French now. You're just doing it. And you're kind of bouncing around. Like when we run into our guy, Kevin Kisner, who's from Aiken, South Carolina, and he's like Southern, like we're all trying to like talk a little bit more Southern and like with Southern lexicon and words, and you don't do it on purpose, but you realize that you're sort of like a chameleon in that sense, and you're kind of doing whatever because you just want to communicate well and be comfortable in conversation with everyone, and I do think it's very subconscious, but I wonder like how everybody obviously does that differently, but I think doing that well, you're right, is a really important skill.
You know what else though? This is interesting. I think you agree with this, Trent. Is that makes you a nice guy, believe it or not, because you cared enough about the people that you were with that you adapted yourself to make them comfortable. That means inherently you're a good guy. Now, if you had a completely different attitude about that, fuck them and blah, 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 then you're sort of an arrogant guy. You're not a very sensitive guy to the needs of the people around you. So it's interesting that you say that because that's great communication, but it also defines you as a man in a sense. You know what I'm saying? You care enough about the people around you to adapt to make them feel good. And that's a really great skill. That in of itself is a basis for success. Because if you make your bosses feel that way and your audience feel that way and your friends feel that way, that's how you build a great life. So I mean that. And it's really more than just communicating. It defines you as a man, and that's really cool. You're the same way, Frankie. I've got a chance to spend time with you. It's about respecting the people around us, and making them feel good about being with us. And some of us care about that. Some of us don't.
And you can apply that to golf as well. Whenever we go to an uptight, like tighten your collar type of country club, we definitely communicate and act differently as opposed to when we're at the local municipal golf course with our buddies, right? That's something that us as a podcast, we try and break that barrier. I don't think that golf should always be like that. I do love the history and the class of golf, but at some point, like if I have to step on eggshells and I can't say certain things because that's not the right way to speak at a country club, that always just irks me a little bit, because I think golf should be a little bit more for everybody as opposed to so exclusive.
It's snobby.
Yeah, it's so snobby sometimes, and it's something that we just need to change. Like, luckily, like we were saying, it's crazy to say luckily, but golf really came back because of the pandemic, like the actual playing. Now the clubs got hurt because people weren't having weddings and they weren't ordering from the restaurants and stuff.
Yep,
but
yep.
the play like doubled. We've talked to superintendents that are like, you know, our jobs were double the amount of work this year because we have double the amount of play. But before that, it was getting way too snobby and way too exclusive. You know, golf really needed something like this where you had to go out and play. It sucks because I don't like being in a place like that, and I know the guys on the podcast hate being in places like that. We'd rather go play at the municipal golf course for $20 and bring our beers and our coolers.
Well, that's what golf should be. Golf should be exactly what you want it to be when you're out
Right.
there.
Right.
You shouldn't have to play by the rules of that deeply. Okay, guys, I got a question for you. How much free golf shit do you get?
A lot.
So you guys get to see all the new stuff. You know, years ago, I used to own a sports bar in California, and I had a soft deal with Mizuno, and they would send me all the new golf equipment, and they had some great stuff. And Barry Bonds, the baseball player, was my partner in this restaurant.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
And I could offer Barry $25,000 to come to the restaurant to do an appearance for me, and he'd say no. But if I had that new Mizuno driver, come for that. So
yeah.
I used to use all my Mizuno stuff to get celebrities to come to my restaurants all the time.
It is true. Right now we're dealing with that with TaylorMade. TaylorMade, we're exclusive with TaylorMade, and I mean they are exploding. It's not that they needed us to necessarily to. They're a really good company, but we've really ramped up like the Sim 2 and all their new drivers, and now they're just like I've got professional athletes being like, I'm trying to order a Sim 2 and it's saying 2022 arrival date. Like, can you get me one? I'm like, I'll see if I can message someone over there, and all of a sudden I'm the cool guy in the group grabbing people drivers and stuff. So yeah, it is funny how golf clubs really get people to come.
I mean, I talk with the TaylorMade guys quite a bit about it too, and they've got all these celebrities. I'm in Scottsdale, LA is pretty close, and they've got all these celebrities that they know, that they work with, and they say the exact same thing. Like, these guys have millions of dollars. You go look at their contracts from their movies, their shows, their concert tours, whatever it is. And they're like, they will, if they can get like a free set of irons or a new driver, they will fly across from LA to Scottsdale, meet the guy, and go through all of it. And they're just like, you're spending more on your fucking flights than you are, but they live for free golf stuff. People love it. So we're some of the luckier people in the world, I think.
It's also, golf is advancing so much with regard to fit of clubs, I think, and the technologies of fitting and customization. And, I think technology has really hit golf very strong, particularly in the past 5 years or so. And so, for example, how old is the driver that you use, Frankie? Is it a brand new model, or is it a driver that you've used for years?
Couple months old. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
It's still got the shiny marks on it from the factory. I mean,
that's what I'm saying, guys. Years ago, you would have used the same driver for years.
Yeah.
Today, technology creates a need to get that next TaylorMade, right? Because it is considerably different than the last one.
They've done a great job. There's actually a huge debate right now in golf between like manufacturers and the actual people running the game with the distance, right? So they're saying that manufacturers are ramping up these drivers and these irons and these wedges so that the ball can be hit further. Because and you may agree with me, I think longer sells, right? Home runs in baseball sell. There's a reason why the steroid era was the steroid era, because guys were hitting 70 home runs a year, and Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds. That was cool. Now people love the 400-yard drives by Bryson DeChambeau. We want to be bigger, faster, stronger. Cars are more expensive when they go faster. That's just the way it works. And manufacturers are running with this, but golf is saying, well, now we're running out of land, and you're ruining the way you're ruining golf courses, right? Like, this bunker was put there at Augusta National so that you hit it into it, and guys are now hitting over it. So it's a funny back and forth that actually is really taking golf by storm right now.
So I'm guessing new golf course design is considering the longer shots of balls, I guess, right?
They have to. And it's
interesting
because, golf loves tradition and old school and history, and if you outdate a lot of these courses, and a lot of it's like Frankie said, there's a bunker you can just hit it over now, and instead of having to make the decision on a par 5, you got a 3-wood in your hands and there's a creek. Well, now you got a wedge in your hands and there's no real decision. It's like you're just hitting a wedge in the middle of the green. So it is a huge point of contention in golf, and
sort of a shame in a way.
It is, but it's tough because it affects like 1% of 1% of 1%, really, which is the best golfers in the world. Like me and Frankie, we need more help. Like, we're going to need the most technological advances for the next 100 years, and we are like 99% of golfers. So it's tricky in that when you watch on TV, they want to dial it back so that it makes it a little bit more compelling because those guys can hit it so far, but we can't hit it so far. Like we're you know, that technology helps us, but we need it to keep getting better and better. So it's a very tricky spot.
Do you think that the technology that causes you to hit farther requires more accuracy in the swing and the hit? Is it tougher to use to get that distance?
In theory, yeah, that is the issue, but I think that's the beauty of the technology. And like something like with the Sim 2, the reason we used the new one was just because it went farther and straighter, and that's really, really rare. And now with the technology, John, they've got it so dialed in that, you know, if you have the wrong shaft or the wrong club head or the wrong loft, like for your club, you'll actually hit it like shit, but you use the same club. They just tweak a couple things, and now it's more curated for you and your game, and all of a sudden you hit it straight and longer. So the technology, if you get it right now, is awesome. And like Frankie's saying, like with the home runs, with cars, with golf, farther and straighter, I think is better for the game overall forever.
I think so too.
Keep doing that.
I think so too. Just puts a little more pressure on a short game, which isn't so bad.
Yeah,
right.
That's never too good for us.
Touchy subject, no pun intended.
Yeah. Speaking of technology, I was just on the golf course today, and I was looking for my freaking golf ball in the fescue, and I'm like, we all know it's here. It's here. We just couldn't find it. How in the year 2021 have we not invented an app that can somehow trace or track the golf ball? I mean, I understand that it would take a lot more technology in the golf ball. The balls would be super expensive if you chipped them. But why can't we have anything that maybe finds the rubber in the ball or something, right? Like someone invent something. Like, I'll pay for it. It's gotta be something that can track just golf balls. You don't need to put chips in them. Maybe it tracks the paint or something. I don't know how technology works. I don't know how inventions work. But you know what I'm saying, John?
I do.
That's a problem that, I mean, that thing would be bought in every single golf bag.
But imagine if it tracked velocity and spin, and in essence gave you a whole data report on that shot.
See, now this is what I mean. Like, the balls need to be trackable. Now, they do have some stuff. They have a TrackMan that goes to the app, but that's a $20,000 piece of technology. It tracks the spin, the length, and all of that.
Here's the issue.
It does it with a camera? It does it with a camera?
No, it actually does it with just like it's like a
laser beam.
It's a laser
sensor that just picks up the spin on the ball and everything and gives you all the information because, right, it just works backwards. Like, if a ball is spinning a certain way, it had to have been struck like X, Y, Z, because that's what
cause and effect.
Yeah.
My theory and all of that, Frankie, is that the golf ball manufacturers who would advance the golf ball and all of that, they want you to keep paying $45, $50, $60 for a dozen balls every time you go play golf. So it's not in their benefit if you could just hold one golf ball basically for a month that you never lose. Then it gets really
I get that.
Really dicey.
I understand that.
I got the solution, guys. I license Frankie the ball for X amount of dollars a month. Right, and you pay to lease the ball. When the ball is broken, you send or chipped or whatever, you send it back to me, and I send you a new one on the lease program.
Okay, there we go. A monthly payment for golf balls.
John, so I got to tell you something. I got to ask your opinion on something that happened to me yesterday, twice at restaurants for the first time. First time this has ever happened to me. So I go to breakfast, a nice breakfast place right by my apartment. I go in there quite a bit. I order an iced coffee, a water, and I order some food, so they hand me my place setting. And I get up to go to the restroom, come back. I was eating alone, and everything was gone. They had taken everything away. And I'd never had that happen ever. Clearly, it was just like a mix-up. They thought I had left, whatever. And they brought everything back. It was fine. Well, then it happened to me again last night. There's like a little bar restaurant that I go to quite a bit. And I went in there by myself, sat at the bar, ordered dinner. And I had like a beer and a water and a little plate of like half food. And I go to the bathroom and come back. Everything was gone. That had never happened to me in my life. It happened twice in the same day.
Boy, that would make me feel insignificant.
It did.
I got to tell you, buddy, in all my years, I've never had somebody say that to me. And the fact that it happened to you twice, it's like getting hit by lightning twice. I mean, that just doesn't statistically happen. How long were you in the bathroom?
It just went to piss, so it wasn't even like a whole ordeal.
2 minutes.
I was gone for maybe 2-3 minutes max. Washed my hands, obviously, for 20 seconds.
Wow. Did you leave anything at the table, a hat or anything like that?
Nothing there. So clearly they thought this guy left. They're trying to be quick and bust.
But you didn't pay your check.
No, neither case.
So they thought you were a walkout. So not only were you insignificant, they thought you were a complete dirtbag. They looked at this guy and they said, "This guy walked out on us and didn't pay, Frankie."
It's crazy.
Twice.
It's absolutely crazy.
Twice.
So I wonder, is one of your faces more honest than the other?
Because
No, I got to tell you, buddy.
How I'm
Obviously,
like this great man, and now.
no, I got it. It's fucked up. I never heard of that before. I mean, that's just crazy. You know, was
weird,
there a
man.
wait to get in?
No, neither one was a wait. It was
Jeez.
totally fine. It was just
This
like
is preposterous. It's
Yeah.
two normal
next time
restaurants.
Next time, leave your hat or something in the seat.
I guess, yeah. I guess I'll have to. It was, and again, I thought when it happened the first time too, it was a bit of a crowded restaurant, and I was at like a small little two-seater, and there's families and stuff around. So when I came back, I was looking around like I'm a crazy person. Like, which table is mine? I couldn't because there was like 5 empty tables with nothing on top of them.
Wow, and that was one of them. So did they give you your food back?
So yeah, the both cases they they poured me a fresh new coffee, you know, brand new like water. I hadn't gotten my food yet at the breakfast spot, and then last night they gave me a whole new beer and asked me if I wanted another like appetizer that I was having. I was like, no, I was pretty much done with it anyways, no problem. But they did give me a brand new beer, and I was probably
Okay.
2/3 of the way through it. So
Okay.
yeah, it was bizarre.
If that happens again, we need to do a scientific study of your aura.
right.
They're like
Giving
this
off something
scumbag
that says
definitely
like,
left.
just trying to get this guy out of here.
Frankie, how many pizza reviews have you done now? What are you guys up to? How many?
We're over 1,000, but you know, recently we've built a little team where I've been able to do the golf stuff, and I've kind of trained my guy Austin now does a lot of the editing, and Dave is now traveling, so he'll have other people film him. So we have kind of like a team as opposed to it was just me and Dave. But we're over 1,000, way over 1,000 now. It's incredible. He never stops, Dave. He just does not stop doing pizza reviews, and he never should.
No, you never should. It's
No.
unbelievable.
You're still one of our favorite guests of all time. I mean, the smell of the pizza box has never been matched.
I always loved what I said to him. What is honeycomb? And he goes, honeycomb?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's that all-time guest appearance. You know what always blows my mind when people and this has nothing to do with pizza reviews, but when people like own like a thing, right? Like someone like when you see something, you think of one person, and for you, it's like restaurant logistics and restaurant like experience. Like whenever something happens, you're like, what would Jon Taffer say with this? I do this in my restaurant all the time. That's got to feel pretty good that you own that space, right? Because there's famous chefs and there's people that you relate to restaurants with, but you own that space. You dominate it. That's yours. When something happens, it's you.
I'll tell you what I'm really proud of, and I've never said this in a microphone or on camera ever before, because it's something I've sort of kept to myself. I think one should have some humility. There's a company called MediaSync that evaluates celebrities across the country, and they evaluate them in like intelligence and trust and appeal and likability and all that kind of stuff. And the networks use these reports. They're called e-reports. And for the past 4 to 5 years, I've scored in the whole culinary space. I've scored #1 in intelligence and #1 in trustworthiness for the past 5 years of anybody in the culinary space.
Unreal.
But I was always #2 in influence until this year. And this year, when the report came out about a month ago, I hit #1 in influence, #1 in trustworthiness, and #1 in intelligence.
Holy shit.
That doesn't mean I'm the smartest. It just means that I'm thought of as the smartest. But man, I got to tell you guys something like, and I've never said this publicly before, I can't tell you how good something like that feels.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
To think that people are influenced by my opinion, that they trust what I say. And you know, I'm really proud of that. But, you know, Dave and I share something, and that's authenticity, Portnoy and I.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're friends, and we go back a long time to the first blog, whatever it was.
Blog Rescue, yeah.
Blog, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But, you know, authenticity is key. And people can't know some fake version of you. They really need to know you. And it's interesting. We were talking about communications before.
Yeah.
And talking to young people and old people and, you know, how you act on the golf course. It's still you. It's still authentically you. Even though you would talk in French and do that, it's still you. So
Yeah.
authenticity is the key in this business. And I'm fortunate that I've been able, that I'm enough of an asshole to fight the networks and the production people around me that sometimes want you to be unauthentic.
Yeah.
But yet I just won't do that. So
it's really difficult to say no to that, and that's really, you know, it takes a lot of courage because you have to own it then, right? It's like you have to say like, I'm gonna be me and it's gonna work. Like, trust me, and it works.
Yeah. You know, production companies, they want to know exactly what you're getting. You know, Taffer's going to take this.
Right.
He's going to turn it into that. He's going to do this. And I don't know what I'm going to do till I get there. You learned that, Frank, when we were together.
That's the thing that blew my mind the most. It's like, how do they know this is going to be a good episode? You know,
they're counting on me to make it one.
Right. Like, how do they know it's going to be fixed? There's no there's no acting. It's legitimately a bad restaurant turned into a good. It's stunning.
So good. That's
stunning.
Awesome.
Yeah, but that's that authenticity that I'm talking about. You know, I go at it to do that, not to make a TV show. I go at it to fix the damn place and, you know, to address the people. And I sort of think the cameras are along for the ride. But my point is this, you know, I think you guys are great, and I think the show is great, and I listen to you guys pretty often. You're authentic. You are who you are, and that's a great asset, guys. Don't ever lose that.
We just talked about this actually on this episode prior to you coming on, about how, you know, some people were like, you're very giddy around professional golfers and you kind of act like fanboys, and do you still get nervous when you talk to players? And I said, I never want to lose that. No matter how long. Listen, I'm only 27, and I still think meeting famous people is really cool. Maybe that'll change at some point, but I never really want to lose that feeling of seeing Tiger Woods and getting nervous and shaking and seeing someone and wanting to give them a high five. Like, I feel like that's how people relate to us. That's our authenticity. Is us. We are fanboys. I bought tickets to go to golf tournaments just 4 years ago, and now we get credentials to go into them. But the only difference there is the thing hanging around my neck. One I bought, and the other one I got handed. I don't ever want to change the way I perceive that tournament or take it in, you know what I mean?
Or take your excitement, you know?
No.
There's a thrill to all of that.
Who cares? Like,
which
I'm
is
not
wonderful.
out there writing in a journal. I'm just out there to experience it.
Yeah. It's the truth. It's all about authenticity, guys.
Yeah.
Can't fake it today.
No, you can't.
No.
And I think that's really hard to, you know, you've been on TV, you're in the public eye all the time, and to kind of maintain that authenticity and to be trustworthy, right? And not, it's very, very difficult to do. There's people got cameras, phones, tweeting at you, posting on Instagram constantly, and to kind of maintain that over, 10, 20 years. Dave's done it. We try to do it, right? We look at kind of somebody like you that's done it in that industry. It's like, man, it is valuable to stay authentic, stay true to yourself, and not try to just bend and break and do what people want you to do, but do what you think you should.
You know what he's done too? You haven't just helped the restaurants that you've actually helped, like where you've gone, but you've implemented and implanted in restaurant owners' minds what you would think without you even being there. I've seen it at my own restaurant. The other day, I'm sitting at the bar, and I don't work there anymore. I used to manage the place, and I used to run it like I wanted it to be ran. And I'm seeing people walk in, and no one knew where the hostess was. Our hostess is to the left. The host of the restaurant is. You have to make a left, and then there she is with all the menus and the list. And I'm looking at the first group walks in. They kind of look around like, where am I supposed to go? The second group walks in. I said, Dad, at what point are you going to change the system so that when they walk in, they see the host of the restaurant? I said, Jon Taffer would walk in here and he'd rip you to fucking shreds. Like, you're making your customers confused. They have no idea where to walk. You're expecting them to know where to walk. And I'm yelling at him. And he's like, you're right. So then we changed it. We moved it all around. And now she's greeted when you walk in. And I think you do that across the country, to be honest.
All right, I'm going to say this publicly in your show. You know I love you, Frankie. You and I have known each other for years.
Yes.
Next trip, I am going to come to your family restaurant. I'm going to walk in on your father, and I'm going to lay in on him.
Oh, my God.
And John, I promise you this publicly.
That's been a dream of mine, and my dad's probably, for 8 years since we've been watching Bar Rescue. So, yes, please, I need it. I need it just to sleep at night. That place needs to be, we need a little bit of Jon Taffer in there. We need it.
So I think you need to make it bit of the podcast, right? So,
okay.
So we'll set up a mic in the room, and I'll just walk in and I'll go at him, and I'll bust him on all this kind of stuff, Frankie.
Love it.
And then when I walk out, you can look at your father with a smile and say, I told you so.
There we go. That's so good. He'll love it. He is your biggest fan. He sits there, watches every show. So that'll be awesome. That's great.
I just committed, buddy. So next trip in, I'll reach out to you and we'll make it happen.
Okay, I love it.
Well, John, we appreciate it. We appreciate the time as always. Keep doing it. Keep being authentic. Keep being you. Keep saving bars and restaurants, and we got to do Borelli's. We got to get you to Borelli's and talk.
Yeah,
to
we'll
Mr.
do a podcast
Borelli.
from there. Maybe
Let's do that. That'd be great, guys. I'm in.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Cool.
Listen, guys, I love you guys. I love talking to you. I'll come back anytime.
All right, season 8. It's on Paramount Network.
Congratulations
Check it out. Bar
on the
Rescue.
8th season.
Congrats on everything.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Good to see you guys.
Thanks, John.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.